Delicious tequila delivered straight to your door. $50,000 to $100,000 of revenue per month.
Yep.
So you're getting that initial product market fit.
Yep.
What would you do as your very next step?
Triple down.
Do hard things. Like, you should do something every single day that makes you uncomfortable, because that's the only way you grow. 67% of American men feel confident that they could land an airplane if something happened to the pilot.
All right, guys, what's happening? Welcome to the Tactical E-Commerce Podcast. This is your host, Roman, over here. We're up in the air right now, climbing from 10,000 feet up to 11,000, flying IFR over to New Orleans for a little weekend fun with a few gentlemen here. So we got Bret in the building from Ameragave. What's happening?
Very small bit.
We got Joshua Morris from the Good Sheets.
What up?
How's the Good Sheets coming along, man?
I'll tell you in a little bit. I'm recovering right now. Let Bret speak for a second.
Okay, cool. We got Eric. Eric works for Amazon full-time. What do you do at Amazon, Eric?
I work for Amazon Air. I handle all the air logistics.
Really?
Ironically enough, yeah.
Amazing.
And I could not land this plane if my life depended on it.
Oh.
So let's fucking not find out.
And we got Nick Christensen in the building from Sumo. He's their VP of Marketing. Yeah, so we're heading over to New Orleans for a little weekend fun, also to shoot this pod over here. So welcome, gentlemen. So, Bret, give us a little update on Ameragave. What's happening, man?
We launched 5 weeks ago. So yeah, we're totally live. We're sipping on Ameragave right now.
Delicious.
Only in the back, not in the front, because we're responsible pilots up here.
Only the non-licensed.
Just to make it
people.
clear for everybody watching.
Yeah.
So how's the launch? What was your launch strategy?
Launch strategy was initially just our family, friends, and extended network. That's who we launched it to first, so it was just mostly email campaign. And then we waited about 2 to 3 weeks, and then we launched our first meta ad. The meta ad was a giveaway, so like a free 1-year supply of Ameragave, it's just 12 bottles. And we're basically just collecting a whole bunch of contact information for an engaged audience, building an audience so that the algorithm knows who's interested in our stuff, and then building an email list, and we are, hitting the email campaigns heavy. So
how did you figure this to be your launch strategy? Do you have like any mentors within the alcohol space? Who's kind of guiding this decision making, or is it just you doing your own research?
Yeah, it's just me guessing. No, I mean it's just what I could do. So I've been taking a lot of classes online, and I was focused on. It's just my hypothetical. Best guess here is that in order for someone to feel confident making a decision and make a purchase for spirits online, they're going to need a lot of evidence, and I felt the best way to do that was to get their email address and then put together a flow to be able to prove out, through, like, our first email in the flow is what's the first one in the flow? I think we do like a little bit about the process, then a little bit about the story, then the third email is like UGC, social proof, and then a call to action for purchase. So we haven't got to that third email in the flow yet, because we literally just launched this a couple weeks ago, and hoping that we can convert that way. And if that doesn't work, then I'll call you and we'll figure out what to try next.
How many bottles do you have?
5,000.
Okay, 5,000. So that's your initial batch.
Yeah.
What's your plan for inventory afterwards? What's your reorder point? When are you going to be like, all right, now's the time to buy more?
I have a 4-month lead time, so I'll know when I get there. I thought we'd need to do it sooner, but after the initial launch, we've got to find that right strategy to start selling through. So I should have, unless like Joe Rogan posts us, I should have enough timing to get that next order going.
All right, so if someone's watching that knows Joe Rogan, we got to send Joe Rogan a bottle of tequila.
I say that because our audience is his audience, man. Our audience is the America First crowd. It's interesting. The people who are engaging with us is not what I expected at all, but it's like 67% of our engaged audience is between the ages of 55 and 64. So I thought that was interesting.
Hey, Mark, is there a way to turn off the chatter for me or no?
Yeah.
Okay. From the tower.
I don't think so.
All right. Okay. I'll listen to them. It's fine. All right, awesome,
Oh, yeah.
awesome. So you're going to re-up when you hit, it's a 4-month lead time, so 50% of your inventory, or
Yeah.
when you sell 50%, then you're going to get the next batch?
Yeah. Or
And what's your
even
next batch going to be?
10,000.
10,000, okay. So you just plan on flipping it over and over, growing your bottle count.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a whole parallel launch strategy here. So that was our e-commerce launch strategy, but we're fully licensed in Texas as of like a week or two ago. And so we've got a whole bunch of restaurants and retailers ready to take us in. We've got some soft commitments from a few places. We just we can't sell to them directly. I need to sell to a distributor to sell to them, and so that's kind of a meticulous process because you have one distributor in the state, so it's a long-term commitment. Somebody you kind of have to marry. So it's like if you choose a really big distributor, it gives you a lot of opportunities to get into more places, but then they don't actually rep your brand and push you because they've got so many SKUs. If you get a small distributor, they can actually be valuable to help rep and push you, but they may not, be a popular distributor to as many locations. And so you have to find that right strategy for your brand.
So is there a strategy for getting into restaurants?
I mean, once we get into a wholesaler, so a restaurant can't buy from us directly, but once we get into a wholesaler, then really the strategy to get into restaurants is to form relationships with the restaurants, form relationships with the general managers and bar managers to bring your product in, and then form a relationship with the bartenders and make sure that they understand what your story is so that they can, start pouring you and pushing you to those clients.
You know what I'm thinking? For restaurants, right, when you go in and you pitch them the product, you should also be pitching them a signature cocktail that they can sell, right?
Yeah.
And you should even name it yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, so like, if it's a Mexican restaurant and if it's like a high class place, you can name it something that's kind of related to that elevated class of the establishment, and also make it Mexican American sounding or something, right? But if it's like, let's say a Dave & Buster's, right, you would name it something totally different, right?
Yeah.
It's are you like sitting there thinking about different recipes for different restaurants that you can pitch to them?
Yeah, we've got, in fact, we've got a cocktail section on our website. It's our most viewed page.
And by the way, if you guys want to chime in with any questions or anything, especially you, Nick, you know all the right questions to ask when it comes to marketing. So,
but so every Friday we have something called the Weekend Pour. So every Friday we release a big, email campaign with a cocktail. I don't know if you've seen it, but we've been filming these cocktails. So I actually make a cocktail on video every week. We release it every Friday, and they're all specialized. We put them the cocktail section of our website. We spend a ton of development time on, and it gets like we're really small. We just launched, but we get 400 to 600 hits a month, and they spend an average of 3.5 minutes just on the cocktails catalog page alone.
You could probably chat GTP it, right?
So that's what I do. So when we go out to restaurants, I always try to, have the most interesting sounding cocktail that has tequila or agave spirits in it on their menu. And they usually don't put all the portions, but they say what the ingredients are. And then I've built a ChatGPT module that I just put the ingredients in, and then it gives me back all of the portions. And I start with that, and it's usually spot on. Sometimes I have to make a few minor adjustments to it, but that's how we've been building our cocktail menu out.
Yeah. Another good idea I'm thinking of, maybe sponsoring certain parties, right? So if there's an event, somewhere on 6th Street going on, you're kind of sponsoring it, and your sponsorship is literally just giving free tequila for the night or tequila samples, putting up a booth there, right? Like how much would it in bottles, right? 20 bottles, 30 bottles you're going to go through the night, right? And you're giving tastes out, you're kind of building that brand, maybe giving out some koozies and some swag, just kind of from a grassroots level, getting out there and putting the product in people's hands, letting them taste it.
So the only successful way to launch a spirits company is to be the face of it. I've learned that. I was just talking with the owner of Twin Liquors yesterday, and he was saying that's really the only proven successful strategy to launching is to be the brand, to be the face of the brand, to go out, to do the tastings, the pourings. To sponsor an official event like that, I still have to be in distribution in Texas because of the way the laws work.
Okay.
But I'm able to go to private parties with my own supply and pour those because I've purchased these legally, right? And so we've been doing that. We've been going to clubs. But the other thing is, we're a startup and we have to stay super scrappy. And so I'm also trying only to put money where I'm going to get an ROI. And building a brand is definitely what I want to do with this. I want to be the Red Bull of the spirits industry. But, and we've done some really cool brand building stuff, but I have to do it where it's like, hey, here's an event. You can come, supply your stuff or do a tasting. But the ones that are like, hey, pay us to be the vendor at this event, we're not doing that stuff
the
right now.
mic just a little closer to your lips. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Is it legal to do influencer marketing in the alcohol space?
Yes. So that's our next biggest strategy, because what we've learned is through both our ads and our email engagement, we are beating every benchmark in open rates, click rates, and ad engagement. Like my cost per lead on Facebook right now is 37 cents, which I think is pretty good. Meaning for 37 cents, someone's giving me their name, email address, and cell phone number. And so we have this whole list of engaged leads, and I can get them for I think better. I think the industry standard is like 67 cents cost per lead. So we're coming in at half of that. So every benchmark is good except conversion rate. And so I'm finding that it takes a lot of social proof and influence to get people to hit the purchase button on spirits. And so our next biggest strategy is influencers in UGC. We need other people who are trusted to say, you have to try this, it's great. And then I in my head, I think it's like all the benchmarks up to conversion rate are exceeding benchmarks. And once we get to conversion rate, it's dropping. And so that tells me, either one, we need to look at how our pages are set up to convert. So that's the strategy right now. And then two, more social proof. And so we just started reaching out to influencers last week.
Nice, man.
So what kind of influencers would you go for this specific type of brand?
So the ones that we're starting with are tequila influencers, which there are plenty of. They're micro influencers, usually 100,000 or less followers, sometimes up to 200,000. Those would be bigger in this space, honestly. And then that's the biggest ones, because they're going to sit there, they're going to do a tasting, they're going to talk about it. They have a very engaged audience. But they also have the audience of the aficionados, and I don't know how the aficionados are going to feel about the fact that we're an American spirit, right, in a space that's traditionally Mexican. I expected that there would be a little more pushback, but in Googling myself, people are posting more good stuff than they are shit talk. I'm getting plenty of shit posts, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, people are supportive and curious, and they just need someone else to try it and say, wow, this tastes great. And then our second strategy is people who have cocktail channels, because they're doing what we're doing with the cocktails, but they have millions of followers. And if they use a specific spirit, then I don't think the conversion rate on that's going to be as high as the micro influencers who have a really engaged audience. Because
so is that a big space? Who are the big names in it, and what's their influence? What's their reach? How many subscribers do they have? Because I know cooking is big, right?
Yeah,
cooking's huge on YouTube, on Instagram, everywhere.
Agave is huge, man. Agave is huge. I follow probably 4 or 5 agave specific influencers that just do reviews on mezcal, tequila, raicilla, all of the different products, and it's the fastest. I mean, this, Bret. This is the fastest growing spirit category by far.
Yeah.
And people love it because it's healthy-ish. Healthier than a lot of our spirits. I think the flavors are really interesting, especially when you get into the mezcals of the world.
Yeah.
And it's also, for Texas, it's very close to us, and I don't know. I think it's just it's a very interesting spirit that I'm curious for you, man. It's a crowded space,
right?
It's a growing space, but there are a shit ton of people getting into this right now.
Yeah.
And celebrities, people that are actually tequileros, like serious people, and then the OGs of the world.
Yeah.
Like you have Don Felipe Camarena, you have all of the people in Jalisco that have been doing this for hundreds of years. What do you think is going to be the number one thing that grows the business for you guys? And first of all, I would just like to say it's delicious. This is my first time trying it. This is the Blanco right here. Clean, tasting, very smooth. I can taste the agave in it. No additives. I love it.
Awesome.
I think this is amazing.
When that gets emptied, I got to give you the gold, and I really want your thoughts on that, because that's where we put all the R&D of our launch went into the gold. And then obviously the gold is made from the silver, and so we said, well, let's release the unaged variant, but the gold is really the differentiator. But to answer your question, I think there are two things. One, we are, I won't say the only, because there are a couple of experimenters out there, but we are, sorry, I'll move that mic closer. We are the premier American agave spirit. So if you try to find other American agave spirits, that market is not saturated at all. We're really, if you Google American agave spirit, we're going to be one of the first ones to show up, because nobody else is doing that aspect of it. There are a few other distilleries that are distilling agave, but they're distilling agave nectar. They're importing agave nectar and then distilling that. That's not how tequila is made. It's not traditional. It ends up kind of losing a lot of the agave flavor, almost tasting more like a rum or something. And so those flavors aren't there. So that's going to be the biggest part of our marketing, is if when you look at our bottles, when you look at our marketing, we're going after that more American crowd.
It's the positioning.
Yeah, we also, we take a portion of the proceeds of the company and invest back into veteran companies, veteran-founded companies. That's a part of what we believe in. And so we're really banking on other people who are buying into that mission and building a community around that.
Yeah.
And then two, really it comes down to the gold. So what we're finding is that there are a lot of whiskey drinkers that have learned that agave spirits, tequila, makes them feel better the next day.
Yep.
It's so much more pure, right? But they like...
There are ones that have a lot of additives.
There are, yeah.
Do not make you feel good. 1942 and Casamigos and Clase Azul, they add oak flavoring, they add sugar, but you guys don't do any of that.
No, we don't do any of that. Thank you. But for the more premium, additive-free, 100% agave tequilas out there, they're saying, I like whiskey more, but this stuff leaves me feeling so much better. And they're finding that the premium agave spirits are incredible. I like the history of just tasting the land more of where it came from. But they want the aged flavor. They have a preference for what the barrel does. When you get into the tequila world, almost all tequilas, there are a few that don't, but they used reused barrels. They used barrels that were previously used for bourbon, whiskey, scotch, and some, wine is becoming a big one. So like in the tequila world, it's like, well, what kind of barrel was it aged in? Oh, we age in Jack Daniel's barrels, or we age in whatever. And you're going to impart some of the flavor of the whiskey, but then also the barrel isn't going to be able to put as much vanilla into the spirit, or as much of the different characteristics of the barrel, because it already gave all of that to the Jack Daniel's. And there are some tequila brands that's their marketing, like Tequila Ocho. They say, we don't age in a barrel that hasn't been used at least 10 times, because they don't want that barrel flavor. They're still trying to preserve the agave. But the whiskey crowd that's leaning towards tequila, they want that. And as you know, when you look for tequila that has additive-free, that's aged in a new American oak barrel, they're $200, $300, sometimes $400 for a bottle. We're talking, Tears La Verona is in new barrels. Jose Cuervo Reserva de Familia, and they're great spirits, but very expensive.
Yep.
And so, when you find an extra añejo that is affordable, they age it in used barrel, and then they just put oak extract, vanilla extract, and caramel color, and you're not really getting that authentic barrel taste. So we said, let's fix that. Let's take this agave spirit, let's bring it to the United States. Let's age it with new American oak. And then we have a highly innovative process that we use to extract more of the barrel in a more efficient manner. And so we figured out how to pull the vanilla out of the barrel, and we turn that dial up to 10.
Without adding
anything. We use nothing. It's pressure, temperature, and a little bit of oxygen and agitation. We are able to pull the vanilla out of the oak. We're able to pull the right amount of oak. We still, char the barrels, which does a couple things. It adds the char character to the spirit, and it also activates the carbon, which then acts as a filter to balance some of the flavors as well. And so we really put a lot into our gold, and I will say that when you taste this silver, it tastes great, but there are a lot of great Blancos in the world, and it's a very competitive market, and it's almost commoditized because price becomes one of the biggest factors in purchasing decisions because there are a lot of options. When you get to the gold, and we'll try it here in a minute, there is nothing else that tastes like it. If you want that flavor, you're going to like it. So 2 things have happened. One, we'll sell a combo pack, and somebody will get a silver and a gold. And that's what we recommend because we want people to try both. And they get the silver, and they take a sip of it, and they say, this is amazing. And they open the gold, and they take a sip of it, and they finish the bottle, and they order 4 more. And so we're realizing that people really have a strong preference for our gold. We were in St. Pete a few weeks ago. We went to Horse Soldier's distillery. Horse Soldier is a whiskey. Our missions align with them quite a bit. For those that don't know, Horse Soldier was founded by the first Green Berets that went into Afghanistan like 10 days after 9/11 and had one of the biggest successes against the Taliban. It was just 12 guys on horseback calling in airstrikes on Taliban bases. And the experts said it was going to take 2 years for them to complete the mission. They did it in like 31 days. All came back. Incredible story. There's a movie about it. What's it called? 12 Strong, I think. So anyways, we went to their distillery, and they had their whiskey aficionados there. Well, we gave them a bottle of gold, and they took us up, and we put it on the Horse Soldier's bar, and we're like, oh, this is great. And he said, yeah, the Horse Soldier's going to be here next week signing bottles. I'm going to pour it for them. We're like, super cool. And then he emails us the next morning, and he's like, you need to bring me another bottle. And we show up. The bottle's empty. He's like, I had my whiskey aficionados here last night. I said, try this. I didn't even tell them what it was. I just said, try this. They finished the whole bottle. And so the fact that these whiskey aficionados that will, only drink the best, and as you know in the tasting world, if they'll taste something and they'll spit it out, it's not offensive. It's just not their preference. They're putting it in their mouth for the flavor. When they finish the bottle, it's a huge compliment. So we're finding out that the whiskey crowd who's leaning towards agave spirits is just loving this. So that so far.
And this is the extra añejo, the gold.
Yeah, the gold. Yeah. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready, man.
And so that's what we're in the tequila world. 9 out of 10 bottles sold are blancos, right? 1 out of 10 are aged, and then as far as extra añejos, it's probably like 1 out of 100 bottles.
Yeah.
But some of that is because of the products that are available, and so we thought our mixture might be the same, but we're actually selling 2 bottles of gold for every 1 bottle of silver that we sell.
Interesting, man. Which is the opposite for a lot of tequila brands.
Yeah, and it's just because, in my opinion, there's nothing in the world that tastes like this, and so if they like this flavor, we're the only place they're going to find it.
And what are the price points on the silver and gold?
So, when we get on the shelf, we'd like to get on the shelf at $55 for the silver and $69 for the gold. So It is a higher price point.
I would say that's pretty reasonable.
Okay, but it's a lot for what it is, for an additive-free new oak spirit. It's a lot lower than what else is on the shelf. When you get it from our website, it's incredibly expensive to ship spirits.
Yep.
And so if you buy 1 bottle, the price is a little bit higher, but we have a price break built in our website. We do everything we can to sell 2 bottles. So if you buy 2 bottles that's on the website, it's only like $70 a bottle. If you buy 4 bottles, we give you free shipping, and it's like $68 a bottle. So that's really our best price. We want people to buy 4, we'll give them free shipping, and that's makes the shipping the most economical for us. Are you ready for it?
Ready, man. Ready.
All right, I want your honest thoughts here. I'm going to give you more because I know you're going to like it.
Please, thank you.
You ready for it?
I love the Blanco.
Hey, let me just get like a smell of it real quick. Curiosity.
Guys, so as part of this podcast, the podcast is called Tactical E-commerce. I want to get tactical. So, Nick, you're an expert in influencer marketing and ambassador marketing. Let's help Bret figure out how, with his current resources, with his current team, he can make the biggest impact within the influencer affiliate space, how he can start generating more revenue by onboarding people to help him market the product.
Well, it's going to start by you telling the camera what your honest thoughts of this are. What do you think?
First reaction is I like it. Milder than other extra añejos that I've tried. Very smooth. I immediately get the vanilla notes. I get the oak notes. But not overpowering. And I love this because when you taste a 1942, or you taste a Clase Azul extra añejo, people immediately say, I like this, mostly because it's sweet.
Yeah.
And mostly because they can taste the caramel and the vanilla, which are added. And so I think people get confused when they taste tequila of what is good and what is bad. And the reason why I love this is because you don't immediately taste the sweetness. You don't taste the overpowering smell or taste of vanilla, but it's there. And it's very drinkable. I personally am a tequila sipper. I don't really mix a lot, maybe on the rocks if I go out, but I normally like it neat, just so you can taste the flavors. And man, I could drink this.
Yeah.
I could drink this. This could be in the cabinet, and I'm a fan already.
Awesome. Thanks. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on getting tactical.
Yeah, the reason that I asked the question earlier of growth channels, man, is because I think for every startup, it doesn't matter if you're in e-commerce space, if you're in the software space or spirit space, starting out is always very hard because you come into a competitive market like tequila or agave, and there are a lot of people doing marketing. There's a lot of people doing marketing very well, especially influencer marketing. You look at The Rock and Terramana, influencer-led. They're owned, and they are the influencer. They are the distribution channel of their own brand. So that's what you see a lot of. And so you come into this space and you're like, hey, I think I can try a lot of these different things. I can build an email list, I can do ads, I can do influencer marketing. And I think the biggest thing that I see is that a lot of people early on try to do too many things. And they say, I'm going to try these 5 things, 7 things, and then I hope one thing will work out. Well, it usually doesn't work that way. It usually doesn't work where you try 7 things and all of them work. So it kind of goes back to the one thing that you think separates your brand or your product from everything else. And I think positioning is great. It's the first thing of like, how am I going to message this? What are the words that I'm going to use? Who is the person, the one person that I'm going to go after with this? Who is the customer? And then from there, where are they? How am I going to get them? What is the distribution? What is the one channel that I'm betting on that is going to do 80% of the work up to, let's say, 8 figures in revenue a year? And one channel, I think, can take you to multi-8 figures. This happened at AppSumo. This happens, at most big companies, Dropbox, HubSpot. They all used one single channel that kind of compounded that they invested 80% of their efforts on. And I think for you, it could be the customer of the American male that drinks whiskey and maybe consuming content on Instagram from big whiskey influencers.
Yeah.
So not tequila influencers. And
Yeah.
so this kind of goes back to like, who is drinking this? Are you targeting tequila aficionados with this? And in that case, you're competing with the Don Julios of the world. You're competing with the G4s, the Tequila Ochos, right? These established tequila brands that have very rich history in this world.
Yeah.
So is that what you're going after? And that's the first question that I would ask before you even talk about marketing.
Yeah.
Distribution channels is, who is this person? And define it, right?
Yeah.
Name the person.
Yeah.
Actually come up with a name of a person, a real person.
Right.
Who are they? So maybe they're not a tequila drinker.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, they're a whiskey drinker, and they love this stuff because it has the oak flavor.
Let me answer your question and then get your thoughts to expand on it. So I'll give you a person, Captain Ross. So the solar eclipse just passed through Austin. We had a totality zone of the eclipse. We rented a yacht, hopped on Lake Travis with a few buddies, and we watched it was a pretty cool event actually. Ameragave was a part of it. We had the first electric paramotor gliding over the boat through the eclipse, got the shot. Like, it was a cool thing. We were trying to go a little bit Red Bull with the branding there. And the captain of the boat was wearing a hat that said whiskey on it, a shirt that said whiskey on it. You go under the deck, and he had books. The only books he had in there were all about whiskey spots and whiskey traditions, whiskey things. And of course we had Ameragave, so we opened it up, and we're like, do you want to try it? And I was like, notice you're a whiskey fan. He's like, oh, I don't drink whiskey anymore. I only drink tequila. I'm like, why? Whiskey just started making me feel really bad. I only drink tequila. And I'm like, well, try this. And he lost his mind. And so that's Captain Ross is, our avatar.
That's a person, that's the avatar.
He was like, mid-50s, and this is what he wants.
Yeah.
So
how many different avatars would you create when you start a new brand? Is it just one, or like?
Well, at first, I think it should be one. I think you're messaging.
How do you come up with the avatar? What's the process to come up with
I think you know the product, well, you are solving your own problem, or you love tequila.
Yeah.
You are trying to create a brand that is America first, that is made here, which I do want to ask you about in a little bit, because there's a lot of debate around this.
Yeah.
But you are producing this because you like tequila. So you're saying, okay, well, I'm assuming you like whiskey as well, and you're also a tequila drinker, so you're drinking the gold.
I like the extra añejo. I mean, I drink plenty of blancos in mixed drinks.
Yeah.
There are a few blancos I sip, like Cascanas and Fortaleza.
Yep.
But if I'm going to sit down and sip tequila, I'm going to open an extra añejo.
Extra añejo, yeah, exactly. Yeah, me too. And so, that is kind of how I would start, is like, okay, what would I like? Who is like me? And I am drinking this because I love it. I created it because I love this. And so who around me, like me, would be drinking this? And I think it's really just like, boots on the ground, you talking to people like you did at these events, and getting a sense of, is there a certain demographic of person that this is resonating with more than another person?
Yeah.
Because if you were to then talk to a tequila group where they don't really drink whiskey and they're trying this, they're like, hey, this is good, but if I'm choosing between this and an extra añejo Fortaleza or a tequila ocho or whatever it is, right? It's like, you're competing against all of these things versus a whiskey drinker that may not drink a lot of tequila, and then this is on their shelf and they want to feel good the next day. It's America first. They know the brand, and this is what they're going to drink.
Yeah.
And so that's how I would go about it. And I think you should start with one person.
Yeah.
What we do, especially with some early stage startups that I consult for, is we actually create a few slides of exactly who this person is, what they like, what podcasts they listen to, what Instagram accounts they follow, and really list it out as specifically as possible.
Okay, let me ask you this. So we ran a giveaway ad on Meta. We're still running it to get the contact information for people that are obviously curious, engaged. Yep. They're willing to give us their contact information. We're getting a lot of comments on the post. Thank you for the opportunity. Sorry, let me get this mic fixed. And so I've got 800 cell phone numbers.
Right.
I'm also working until 3 a.m. every single night, trying to build out these email flows, edit the post for the next cocktail recipe going out, building the campaigns. So I have very limited time, but it's been on my list to pick up the phone and start calling these people.
Yep.
And I feel like if I call 100 people and I pitch 100 people and I ask 100 questions, I'm going to know a lot more when I'm done. So where would you prioritize that in our process? And then what questions would you ask, or where would the ideal conversation with these people go?
Yep. Great question. And short answer, I would prioritize customer research first. That's what you're doing is customer research or customer surveying. It's divided into two different categories. You have qualitative research, which is one-to-one conversations. Then you have quantitative research, which is you send out a survey to all 800 people that you have on your email list, and you ask them a bunch of questions, drop-down questions. How old are you? Where do you live? What do you currently drink? What do you follow? All of these questions we just talked about, demographic questions. That's quantitative. That's to get a better sense of who is maybe currently consuming the product. You usually do that first, and then you go into the qualitative of the interviews of talking to them and asking deeper questions. So the best marketing, I think, doesn't advertise the features or the benefits of the product. Nike is a great example of this. Apple is a great example of this.
Right.
They don't talk about how fast the computers are or how bouncy the shoes are. They never talk about that in their marketing. They talk about how it makes them feel.
Yeah.
And that's what separates them, I think, from the rest of the companies. And so when you're doing your qualitative research, this is where you go deeper into the why are you drinking this.
Right.
I love this because I have an affinity for the brand.
Yeah.
I love this because it makes me feel really good, and it's better than whiskey. The feeling that I get, I really have a affirmation or really affinity to the brand, a brand trust. I really like the taste of it over maybe whiskey or other tequilas that I drink, right? And then for me, it could be a status thing. When I drink a really good extra añejo that's unique, it's different from whiskey, which makes me different. So I am also different. That gives me status. So these are the why questions that you need to bring out in the marketing over just the taste of it.
Okay.
And so these are the qualitative questions, and I have a doc that I can send you where you can ask people these questions, and then you start to form your marketing from there.
Okay.
Right? You start to form what words you use from the words that they're telling you.
Yeah.
You start to form the message that you use of like, hey, this is not just tequila, right? This is a America First tequila. This is made here, still using the agave from Jalisco in the traditional way. There's no additives here. This is for whiskey drinkers. You don't get the hangover, right? All of these things that are the way that people perceive your brand and why they drink it. Usually there's maybe 7 to 10 of these things, right? What you need to deduce from this is what are the priority of why people are actually buying this, because usually there's only 1 or 2 things.
Yeah.
Of like they see your brand, maybe it's not just taste, maybe it's brand trust, or maybe it's America First.
Yeah.
What is the number one thing that people are choosing you over somebody else?
Well, and the other way that I would word that, if I don't, if you would agree this is the same thing or not, but when you use a bottle at home to make a cocktail for a friend, or you share a bottle with someone,
Yep.
there's usually one pre-programmed sentence, right?
Yes.
It's like take Lalo. Like
Yep.
what do you say when you give someone Lalo? What's the one thing?
I mean, it's smooth.
Yeah, but like the story about the bottle.
I mean, it's the history of his
it's
grandfather.
Yeah, he's Don Julio's grandson.
Yep.
Right? Like that's the one sentence.
Exactly.
Right? Like, and so I think every brand has like, you get one sentence. When
Yep.
somebody gives your bottle for someone else to try, this is cool because.
Exactly.
So I have not defined that one sentence yet.
Exactly. And I think that comes out of the customer research.
Yeah.
Both the surveying, the quantitative data that you're getting back from a simple survey that you send out of like, why do you drink this?
Yeah.
A good thing to do is provide prompts of like, here are the 5 things that I think separate our tequila from everybody else. Can you rank them in order?
Yeah.
What separates it?
So, but because we only launched a few weeks ago, this is what I was talking about. My conversions on this list are low.
Yeah.
So most of these people have not ordered yet.
Have not tasted
And so
it.
how do I ask the questions to basically ask, why haven't you purchased, and what would it take to get you to purchase, without being that direct about it? Like, how would you ask the question to get the answer to those questions?
I think I wouldn't start there then. If you don't have the people that are actually drinking it and consuming the spirit and actually using the product, I would start with qualitative. I would start with hand-to-hand combat of the people that you're talking to. Have a list of things that you are asking that you can standardize it in a little bit of a way where you can ask several people this and get answers back where you can compare what they're saying.
Okay.
And this could come on a Zoom call where you're recording it. You could transcribe the Zoom call and then put it into a document, and you can maybe do 10 of these or 15 of these.
Yeah.
Right? Hand-to-hand combat. This does not require scale. This is manual research that you're doing. And then you look at all of these documents and you say, what are the themes that I can pull out of this?
Yeah.
What are the things that maybe the something that came out more than anything else?
Yeah.
What is that one-liner that you talked about?
Right.
That is the priority order of how people value your product. And it could be taste, it could be America First, it could be no additives, it could be all of these things. But bring those out of actual words that your customers are using, rank them in priority order, and then structure your entire marketing around that research. And that's not just the words, that's not just the positioning, that's the channels.
Okay.
And this is why I think a lot of people fail in marketing, is they go into the actual distribution, the tactics, without establishing a strategy first.
Okay.
And the strategy is, who am I talking to? What words am I using? And where are they online?
Okay.
If you can't answer those questions, and you're spending money, and you're collecting emails, and you're going to all these events, you're kind of flailing a little bit. You're trying to find what works without actually having a strategy and a plan in place of, I know exactly who this customer is. I know what they read online. I know what influencers they follow. I know that they're whiskey drinkers, not tequila drinker. So why would I sponsor a tequila drinker? A tequila aficionado, a tequila influencer. They don't follow them.
Yeah.
So that will dictate the tactics that come from the strategy, that comes from the customer research. And you don't need a full team. You don't need to spend any money. This is all you talking about it. And I think if you go about it in a really methodical way and ask the right questions and structure the way that you're getting feedback, and be open also, and ask good questions, the same questions to all of these, so you can compare them. 10 people, 15 people is all you need to start to bring out the trends of, okay, wow, this kind of person is really starting to drift towards, gravitate towards a certain feature set.
Okay.
Maybe two lines, 3 lines. And then you start to build your marketing from there. And I think that's a really smart way to do it because you don't have to spend any money even on the marketing itself. I would shy away from ads, to be honest, at first. I don't know how much you're spending or what the budget is there, but that's a big thing that I see. A lot of people try to spin their wheels really fast and get a lot of traction, and then they spend $20, $30, $50,000, and they're like, I don't really have a lot to show for it. Another thing that I would say there, man, is when you're going and doing ads, it's cold traffic, it's prospecting. So you are trying to not only educate people on the top of funnel, but you're trying to work them down the funnel and purchase all within the same marketing campaign. It's a very difficult thing to do. Okay. And if people don't know who you are, and especially if they don't know about this kind of product, right? And I think this is where maybe the education piece that we can talk about of the positioning can come in, of a couple questions of points of confusion are Ameragave. Okay, it's American agave. Well, is it grown here? Is it grown in Mexico? Is it made here? Is it made in Mexico? I know that agave and tequila, like champagne, has to be produced in Jalisco. It has to be made of Blue Weber, 100% Blue Weber agave, for you to call it tequila, just like it has to be grown in the Champagne region of France to call it champagne and not sparkling wine, right? So you're saying it's American, but it's grown in Mexico. So like, I'm confused. What happens there? So answering those questions, answering the questions of additives, of like, why does it separate this from 1942? Well, this is made in a cleaner way. You're not going to have a hangover. Yeah. And this is why you should be drinking this. So
us versus them marketing works well.
Us versus them.
So yeah, I'll show you. Like, I have an ad or a post ready to go where I took a bottle that looks like a 1942 with all the labels removed, and then I took our bottle and did the red X's and the green check marks. Yep. And it focuses on additives, no additives, used barrels, new barrels.
Yep. I love it, and I think that is a good way to educate people, is a juxtaposition on something that they know already, because they don't know Ameragave, but they know 1942. So like the America First thing is maybe a big differentiator for you guys. It's a big reason that people would buy, but I don't know what that means. There are tequila brands in Hawaii. I just was in Oahu last week. There are tequila brands in California that are growing their agave in America, right? But they can't call it tequila, right? They cannot call it tequila. You are growing your agave in Jalisco, where it should be grown and produced in the traditional way, but you're an America First company. So I think there's some confusion there in the market, and this is happening with mezcal as well. This is happening with sotol as well in Texas. There is a big debate. There is a big argument going on between Mexicans and Americans of what you can call this and what is this thing. And so that's an interesting positioning, especially with so many brands popping up, where you are still tequila, right? You're growing it and you're producing it in the traditional way, but you are producing it here. Right. And so I think that's a big piece, is the education part of it, of you're an American brand, but you're producing it in the way that tequileros in Mexico would produce it.
Yeah, we're producing it traditionally, and then this is another avenue for potential marketing, is that we are doing all of the final process here, right? So we're doing all the aging here, we're doing all the bottling here, we're doing all the, there's still a lot that happens after the product leaves the still.
Yep.
And so, and every one of those things matters. There's a lot that happens. And we're doing all of that here, and we're doing it with American innovation.
Yep.
And so traditionally, and this excites some people and makes some people curious, and some people reject it, but traditionally you throw still-proof spirits in a barrel, and then 2 to 4 years later for tequila, you open it up, pour them out. Every barrel tastes a little different because this is nature, right? And so you have a master blender blend it together, and you say, yeah, this is the flavor that we're going for, and they put it in a bottle. And then there are all of these aging gimmicks in the whiskey world. Like Metallica has a whiskey, and they have speakers set up, and they're playing Metallica for the barrels. Like that's literally their marketing.
Yep.
There are these barrels that are underwater because the ocean is shaking them up, and that makes it age different. There are barrels aged at the top of mountains in Colorado. There are barrels, Garrison Brothers, aged in the Texas heat. It's like everyone's differentiating off the way they age, right? And so we're not marketing. I mean, we talk about it a lot on our website, but we're not like being super forward about it. But we are traditionally distilled, aged with American innovation. And that's when I say, like, the Gold was really the flagship product, because we said, what happens when we age tequila like a whiskey? What happens when we put it in new American oak, and and what we do is we still use traditional oak barrels.
Yep.
But instead of just letting the spirit sit in them for 2 to 4 years, we marry them in a different way, and we use a system of extreme pressures, temperatures, oxygen, agitation, different things. And by the way, like this is not just guesswork. Like the guys we worked with to do this were both PhDs.
Yep.
Very smart people, and they've been doing this with whiskey for a long time. And so we made an investment in this company, veteran-founded company. And we said, what happens if we put tequila in this thing? So we brought in some tequila, and they sent me a bottle of what was labeled T1. It was like the first iteration of what tequila looks like through this thing.
Yep.
I went and met with Daniel Whittington, the whiskey wizard. He's one of like level 6 whiskey sommelier. And I wanted him to teach me everything about aging technology, and we spent the day together. And I gave him some T1, and I said, if this is crap, tell me right now. I'll pack up my bags. I'll go do something else. But if this has potential, then I'm going all in.
Yep.
And he tried it, and he said, this isn't bad. Coming from him was crazy, because he's super traditionalist about put the whiskey in a barrel, leave it, don't touch it, right? And he's like, this isn't bad. So we started this long process where we buried every single input in every single way. What happens when we change the temperature? What happens when we change the proof that it interacts with the oak wood? What happens when we change the amount of oxygen and agitation and different things? And where we finally ended up is T147. So we spent a year. We ran a bunch of 147 iterations on the process until we arrived at exactly the flavor profile that we wanted. And so it's not guesswork. And because we have this super innovative, sophisticated process, that's the other thing about agave is what's interesting is grain is grown in a season, and grain is pretty consistent.
Yep.
Wine, you would never expect two different vintages of even the same wine to taste the same. Everyone understands that vintage matters.
Yep. The year that it's grown.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in the agave world, it's the same.
Yep.
Where it's grown, even in Jalisco, and the years that it's grown have an impact on it. If you go get a bottle from 8 years ago and compare it to a bottle today of the same brand, it's going to taste different. And I don't know why, there's this consumer expectation for it to always be the same, but the truth is that it does change. And one of the cool things about us using this process is although agave is different, even in the aging world, the aging changes because the same thing happens with the way the trees are grown and the years that they're grown and where they're grown, and they impart different flavors. But we've been able to get so consistent with this process that we will also, when you try one bottle of Ameragave Gold, you say, I like that, we're going to be probably more consistent than any other additive-free brand on the flavor profile because of the way that we do it.
And I think that's amazing, and I think that's a differentiator, man. Because like what I have seen, and I drink mostly tequila, mezcal, and sotol. That's really all that I drink. And what I have seen with the rise of agave products, the fastest growing spirit category, is that you get a lot of bullshit in the space now. These celebrities are coming in, Kendall Jenner being the biggest example of this, of 818, and Casamigos with George Clooney, and now the fucking guys from
Terramana is blowing up.
You got the guys from
Pantalones now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Kevin Hart has one.
Kevin Hart has one.
Yeah.
This that really pisses me off. Of like, Matthew McConaughey, and I don't know, like if you tried Pantalone, but I've heard from several people that it tastes like shit, and they don't care about this stuff that you're talking about, right? They're doing it because they're riding the wave of people loving the spirit. And so I think the differentiator is actually like going back from this popularized, super consistent, like, very sterilized taste of tequila, going back to the way that it should be produced, and each varietal each year is going to taste different. And you're still an American first company, because I think a lot of people don't really know what tequila is supposed to taste like. So they see a celebrity telling them this is what I should buy, and so they buy it. But they don't really know how it's made. They don't really know the different the nuances of actually producing it. So you're kind of operating in a middle space between you're a American produced, American owned, veteran backed company producing tequila in the traditional way. But still adhering to the flavor profiles that tequila should taste like, which is not really, I think, what all of these new brands are doing, and they're really just doing it as a marketing play, right?
Yeah.
You know, you think Kendall Jenner knows the single fucking thing about producing tequila besides, you know, her taking a photo shoot in, you know, an agave field and then flying out in a jet like 45 minutes later? It's like, this is what pisses me off, is that they are doing this and they don't even like their own product.
Yeah.
You know, they're not even doing this because they like tequila at all. They're doing this as a straight sales and marketing play, a way to monetize their brand and ride the wave. And so this is like a separation from that. And why I think that, you know, it's a big marketing opportunity to say, hey, I believe in this. I know the process. I'm close to it. No, I'm not Mexican. This is an American-first company, but we're producing it in the way that Mexican tequileros produce it, the way that it should be.
Yeah.
And so I think that this is something that will come out, I think, in the conversations that you have of like, hey, people don't understand this concept. And there's nobody operating in this space that I know of, you know, kind of the middle ground between the two. And so I think this is a really interesting, you know, way to talk about the brand and a way to differentiate yourself from.
Yeah, Brett,
from
one
products.
little piece of input I can give you here regarding surveying your customers. So I've been surveying people since 2013, and I literally have thousands upon thousands of line items of people giving me information about what their biggest concerns are in the world, what competitors have they considered, why they purchased our product, what could have made our product better. So what we do now is that our two most valuable surveys are the pre-purchase survey and the post-purchase, okay? So the pre-purchase comes in the welcome, at the end of the welcome flow in Klaviyo. So let's say somebody signs up to our email list. They go into our welcome flow. The intent of the welcome flow is to get them to purchase a product. If at the end of that flow, which lasts a few weeks, they do not purchase a product, they receive a survey. And in that survey, we ask them, why didn't you buy, right? What could have made us better? Who did you go with? We get information. And from a tactical aspect, I can't share that with you guys. I'm going to be sharing the questions that we ask so you can modify them slightly to your brand. And then post-purchase is once they've made their first purchase, they get taken into a flow that asks them, you know, tries to sell other products, obviously, right? It's like, hey, awesome, welcome, you got a gas mask, you got a filter. These are the other products we offer. We have suits. Why do you need a suit? Okay, there's all these events that can happen which can absorb, you know, through your skin, so you need a suit. You need gloves. You need boots. You need a way to detect this stuff. You need a way to decontaminate afterwards, right? And once they purchase, we also send them a survey. It's like, why did you go with us? What about us stood out, right? So you're gathering all these data points and you're putting them on autopilot. I think that's very important to set up early. And you can do that very easily with Typeform or Google Forms, and it's literally just a link in the last one. You know, you could either put it up front in the post-purchase, but for the pre-purchase, I would put it in the back of the flow, okay? And that's on autopilot. But I also do suggest calling your customers and talking to them, having a list of questions, talk to them, see what they're about, see where they hang out, what forums do they visit online, what do they like to do for fun?
Yes.
Right. And you might see trends, right? You might start to understand that, hey, these tequila drinkers, a lot of them also like to ride mountain bikes or do something else, right? And you could put imagery of mountain bikes and tequila, even though it's not the most responsible thing. But
like I said, it's my thing.
Yeah, it's your thing.
One question that I love that Mira is asking and getting feedback on is, who else do you purchase from, or who do you follow? And that is invaluable data of people really telling you where you should market, giving you the answer to the test. And so we're pulling this out and working with the Mira marketing team on how do we better market, how do we advertise in a more efficient way, how do we create audiences that we know are going to convert better, how do we create messaging and creative and do videos and work with influencers that we know are more guaranteed to produce results versus like, I think this person could be good, you know, like I follow them, maybe they're going to be good. Use what your customers are telling you, the actual words from these surveys to craft your marketing. And so these post and pre-purchase surveys are really good. I think, you know, a lot of companies I see maybe don't have the the purchases. So it's like, well, how do you get started? Like, how do you know what they're doing if you don't really have a lot of customers purchasing this? And this is where I think the more one-on-one conversations of like do things that don't scale, can come into play here, where you're really just getting this information from the conversations you're having with people. And then as you begin to scale, getting these email flows and post-purchase surveys. I think another big thing on a post-purchase survey that is very important is where you came from. Yep. Like, tell me where you came from. There's tons of marketing analytics tools, and you can spend tens of thousands of dollars a month trying to get 100% attribution on where the traffic came from. You had an ad, you had an influencer, you had organic. The best way is just tell me. Yeah. Post-purchase survey. Tell me where you came, what influencers did you come from. You have a drop down, you know the marketing that you're doing. Let them tell you, and then you look at it and be like, oh wow, I didn't actually know that this influencer blew up as much as they did. Maybe they only had 10, 20,000 views on their video, but the amount of people that are telling me that they saw this video is crazy. Because they're not purchasing directly from an Instagram video. You don't include a link in a TikTok video. You can't. So how do you attribute it? A post-purchase survey asking them these kinds of questions is really good.
Another way you can do it with technology is we use this app called Stamp.io, which collects reviews. So not only are you gathering reviews, but you're also gathering feedback, right? Reviews are feedback, essentially. Another feature of Stamp.io, which I think a lot of them have as well, that integrate with Shopify, is once you check out on individual line items, you can leave commentary. And it asks, why did you purchase this? Right after you purchase, literally on each line item, and it'll tell you why they purchased that specific product. So I just recently started looking at that. We've actually been gathering this data for years, and I kind of forgot about it, right, because we kind of had other things going on. But I'm looking through this data now, and there's so much untapped gold in there. And we can take those words that people use and use it in our marketing, right? It's like if you see a trend of people saying the same thing over and over, then use that directly in your marketing. You could actually take, which we're going to do, I'm going to take those spreadsheets, I'm going to feed it into an AI, and then get kind of commonalities out of the AI, right? And make it create marketing messages, which then a copywriter can refine, right? But finding those commonalities, AI is actually really good at that.
Word clouds. Is good at that. No, I think that's amazing, man.
So we're going to provide that, guys. We're going to provide the questions you should be asking.
We're getting tactical here.
We're getting tactical. This is important. We're also going to provide an avatar template. Can you have an avatar template?
Yep, we can get some questions that can form the avatar. We can get some survey questions sent out, and then some example slides of what is an avatar. How do I select it? I think this is really important. This is the advice that I give to every single early stage company. And then I think a lot of people get wrong, is like they're so excited to promote their brand and go out there, but it's like take 2 steps back. Find this person in your mind, define it very, very clearly, and then the marketing channels create themselves. You don't really need to find them. So we'll get those out after this.
Another tactical thing, guys, us versus them. That's a very powerful marketing technique. You can create a spreadsheet of sorts comparing your product to the competition. You can put that onto landing pages. You can put it out there. People need to understand how you're different. And you know what? It's okay to call them out by name. It's okay to call out, Kylie, Kendall, whatever the Jenner's names are who are doing tequila brands, or Kevin Hart, right? Show what they're doing and how you're doing it different. That really makes you stand out. And I think that's important. People have to understand.
Excellent point, not just for the separator, but for education. If you're a brand new brand, at AppSumo we do this a lot, of a comparison ad. We are a software marketplace of alternative tools. So we have over 600 software products on our site, but you may not know them. They're not the MailChimps, they're not the ConvertKits. You're not going to see the big products on there. And so if I show you a product on Facebook, how do you know what this thing does? Well, you can easily compare this thing to something else that you know. And if I can show that to you in a graphic, visual way that in 3 seconds you can understand in your feed, and you're like, wait, I know this product over here. A big one for us is TidyCal. It is a online scheduling tool that we built. A very, very big ad that we spend tens of thousands of dollars a month on is comparing it to Calendly. Everybody knows Calendly, but you've never heard of TidyCal. So a simple graphic that says, this is why we're better. We're a one-time payment. Calendly is a monthly cost. We have group bookings. They don't. You can check out on PayPal directly from your bookings, in Calendly you can't. So very, very simple. You can educate the customer and convert them in a really effective way. And then also, like, I believe in beef as marketing. Starting a little bit of shit of like a great way to structure your marketing, your strategy is who is your enemy? Name the enemy that you are going after.
Yeah.
The enemy is the bullshit tequila brands that are adding sugar and vanilla and oak. They're promoted by influencers and celebrities who don't give a shit about you and don't drink tequila at all. That is your enemy.
I don't think I can fight The Rock, but I'd take on Kevin Hart. I could take him.
Dude, we could fuck up The Rock, man. Us five, dude, we could fuck that dude. I'm
The five of us together. Maybe.
Dude, I mean, I'm gonna sit back and let you guys go first, but
yeah, I was gonna say I'm not gonna be involved.
yeah.
All right, so Nick, let's say it was you who's starting Ameragave.
Yeah.
Right. And you had, let's say, after spinning up the brand, getting the initial batch, getting the first orders, you had an extra 25 grand to play with, right? What would you do? Let's say you already got the avatar down. What would you do? How would you start generating demand for a brand like this?
Yeah, great question, man. If I know who I'm going after and I have a really clear picture of this, and 25 grand, it can be blown very quickly. It's not a ton of money, so I think it has to be deployed very strategically. Just high level, I would look at it in, if you're trying to spread this out between 10 or 15 channels or influencers, it's probably going to dilute it, right? 25 grand, 30 grand. So I'm not really saying, okay, well, what all the things can I do? I'm saying probably how can I give this to 1, 2, maybe 3 channels or influencers, right? Or possibly events. So I'm going as hard as I can and as specific as I can, trying to make a splash, right? And if I'm launching this, I'm saying, okay, what is the launch event that can put my product on the map? That can be a little bit of a PR play where I can get the most bang for my buck for these dollars, because it's not a lot. So I would maybe even say, okay, can I just put $25,000 into one specific thing? And you mentioned the social proof earlier. I think if I know my customer, I know what they're following, I know who they love online, I would go after that first. And it could be a whiskey influencer. If someone is drinking whiskey, maybe they're also smoking cigars.
Yeah.
Maybe they're also joining country clubs, or maybe they're also flying on jets. Like, what are the commonalities here where I can say this one person has the trust of my audience? So there's really 2 kinds of personas that you look at, right? And if I'm thinking about this $25,000, well, like, I would say, okay, I want to go get my persona, but like, how do I do that? Well, I have to go after the channel that they're in, or I have to go after the trust persona. So what I love is not just the customer persona, but the trust persona of who does your customer trust. So you're not just forming a persona on the drinker, you're performing a persona on one person above them of who do they follow. So what is that persona? Who is that person? And I would go to that person first, and I would approach them and say, hey, I don't have a lot of money. I want to send you some product seeding. I want to send you an exclusive box. Can I get your address? You're not asking for anything from them. You're immediately saying, I want to build the relationship, and I'm not asking for anything in return. You send them the product, right? They try it, and they say they love it. Then you start the conversations of saying, okay, give me some advice, man. What would you do in launching this? I'm just starting out, and I love what you are doing, and I actually think the people that follow you would drink Ameragave. So I have a couple ideas that I want to run by you. I want to get your advice on this, right? I think we could do an in-person event, and I could use this maybe in Austin to back a company that you love, a veteran-backed company that could sponsor the event. And we bring like-minded individuals that maybe have never tried this, that maybe don't drink tequila, they're whiskey drinkers, and you're doing it at a cigar event. You're doing it at a country club event where you know these people are that are trusting this persona and would come out and actually drink your product. So it's an education event, but more so than trying to sell the product, I would use it as a launch platform. So you're creating the content around this event so you can launch your brand online. An offline event to get the content using a trust persona to launch online with really targeted, well-made, well-edited content is how I would spend the $25,000. So you're not even talking about an ad spend. You're not talking about sponsoring any kind of huge influencers. You're talking about how I can get the trust influencer here, get social proof content made, and then have at least a library of really targeted content with messaging that I know will hit, using the event content, using the language that these people are using, the social proof of them drinking it, the videos that then I would turn into organic content first.
Yeah.
I would try to get to pop in a viral way without trying to spend money on ads. And then if you post some shorts, right, on YouTube Shorts, IG Reels, TikTok, Facebook, and you're starting to play with organic a little bit, and one pops off more than the other, where people really resonate maybe with this person talking about it, or a person drinking it, and they're like, wow, I usually drink whiskey, and I'm going to tequila, and I really love this thing.
What would
Then
you
and
offer?
only
What
then.
would you offer an influencer?
I mean, it really depends, man, but at first I would offer product and see what they would do.
How
on a
many would you reach
relationship
out
based.
to?
You know, I would reach out to probably 5 to 10 of your dream influencers. Create a list, and for me, starting out is not about a quantity play. It's about a quality play. So influencers get hit up all the time with, hey man, can you do this sponsorship for me? Can you do this bullshit for me? They respond to probably 5 to 10% of those. And so your play would be more relationship building. How do you provide the best possible outreach that you think is going to become the most amount of responses that are going to generate interest, not asking for something, saying, hey, can you do this for me? So 5 to 10 dream list, and then I would come up with a way that you outreach to them in a really unique way to each one of these influencers. So maybe you know somebody that knows that person. Go through them. It's referral based. Maybe you know that they love whiskey. You send them a bottle of whiskey and your tequila, and you just ship it to them directly, right? Any way that's super creative that you can get a response. Start small. 5 to 10 of these people. You approach them with a relationship message first, and then if they're like, hey man, I actually do sponsored posts here or sponsored events, like it's only paid. Then I think you could go to them and say, hey, listen, I don't have a lot of money, but I can give you a CPM rate of, let's say, $50 on the last 10 videos that you're doing. And this is if you're trying to do a paid sponsorship video with them. You can offer them a rate that is fair, but maybe not, maybe what they would normally get, but you're trying to build a relationship, and you're one-to-one as the owner, the founder, the CEO of the brand, trying to connect with them in a deeper way than just a straight sponsorship. So you can offer them the CPM rate. I would do product seeding first. I would try to do relationship building first of who you know that knows them, or who you might know directly, and then start to form a marketing launch event around that person, around an offline event that you can create really good content for, that can possibly launch you online. And then it only takes, one person, a Joe Rogan or whoever, Dax Shepard, to see this and then maybe talk about it. And then it starts to grow a little bit more organically. Yeah. But it's really coming from, who's purchasing it, who's purchasing it, who they love, the trust persona. You're using a launch event with not a lot of money to create really good content and launch organically online.
And is $50 for CPM, is that pretty industry agnostic, or does that change?
That was just an example, man. So for example, at AppSumo, we pay $95 for a CPM. That's entrepreneurship and business.
I pay $35 for outdoor and tactical.
Tactical, military, and outdoor is a little bit lower.
Okay.
This is all based on a YouTube or long form content CPM, where how well can you monetize your content? Some is very monetizable. Financial content, personal finance, very, very monetizable, right? The CPMs are super high. Okay. So as an influencer, you're asking for maybe $150, $160 as a CPM, because they know if the brands that are advertising with them pay that much, they're going to get a big ROI. Whereas someone that's lower CPM, lower monetization, they're going to pay a little bit less, and maybe even going down to outdoor, maybe they're not ready to buy right now, or maybe the brands are not as monetizable. So you can research this for spirits, and I would guess,
I think 50.
I would guess in the 40 to 60 range.
I mean, we're on 2 channels for ads right now, and we're at like $47, I think.
Exactly.
Both of them.
So that's how you would approach an influencer. Is like this. I've done the research. I've talked to a couple people, and this is what I can pay you. Right. This is a fair market rate of a CPM in your space.
And to define CPM for the cameras, that's dollars per 1,000 views on the plays on the video.
Cost per 1,000 impressions.
Okay.
So this is different from a CPC, which is a cost per click.
Okay.
So YouTube and channels like Facebook will price based on a CPM. So how you would price that to an influencer, how you would approach them is you would look at the last 10 videos that they do. So let's say you average 100 views on your last 10 videos. That's your average views, 100 views. You then will come to them and say, hey, I have a $1 CPM, right? And so I can pay you the cost per 1,000 impressions for this specific video. If they were to get 1,000 impressions, you would pay $1,000, the cost per 1,000 impressions, right? So you would approach them with a CPM rate based on what they are actually getting from their channels, right? They're from their videos, and then you would say, this is the rate that I would pay you. This is for YouTube specifically. This is for influencer. For Facebook.
How about strict affiliate commission? Do you think many of them would be down for that?
This is an interesting play, man, and this is another question that I have for you, because I think there's a point of confusion of can I buy alcohol online? I know I can buy software online. I know I can buy tactical mass and body armor online, but I've never bought a bottle of tequila online. I always go to my liquor store, right? Yeah. So how would you even know to go and do that? And so I think a big point maybe of confusion, which is leading to a lot of high bounce rate and checkout drop-offs, is do people even know that this is legal?
Yeah.
You know?
Delicious tequila delivered straight to your door. Some sort of messaging that lets people know, right, that you can deliver.
Yeah. Because I've never bought alcohol online until I supported your brand and bought your stuff.
So. It is hard and it's new. People have been buying wine online for quite some time. I think that the online spirits, legal acceptability happened post-COVID. The government makes a ton. They make more money per bottle than we do, right? It's taxed so many times. And so there were a lot of retail networks established post-COVID that allowed the shipping of alcohol for online. We can ship to 39 states. Yep. It is very complicated. I mean, and our shipping rates are super high because we have to ship it twice. So you also don't get it 2 days either. It takes a little bit longer, but I think...
What is the shipping twice? Where do they ship it first?
Yeah, so you can't ship to a consumer across state lines. And so first it gets shipped... We have a retail network in 39 states. So first it gets shipped to the retailer in a way that they can legally acquire it. It's pre-labeled to the consumer. They don't have to do anything. Hits their doorstep. UPS comes and picks it up and delivers it. So we'll give you a UPS tracking number, and you'll check it, it'll be not scanned, not scanned, not scanned. It's it's on its way, it's just got to hit your state first. And then once it gets scanned in, it's going to get to you quickly.
So if I buy a bottle on Saturday and today, when can I get it?
It depends on what state you're in. If you're in California, you're going to get it in 2 or 3 days because that's where we're shipping from, so we can do that delivery there because it's not across state lines. If you're in Texas, it's probably going to take a week.
A week, so I'd get it next Saturday maybe.
Yeah, you're probably just going to get it Monday to Friday, but you might get it the Monday after. But and so that's part of it. But two, we were betting on two things. We're betting on the fact that craft spirits was going to do what craft beer did 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that people are going to recognize, hey, there's more to this world than I can find on the shelves at Total Wine, right? And not everyone has a Total Wine, right? There's more in the world that I can find at my, CVS or Walgreens, right? And then for some of these specialty drinks that are out there, I'm willing to wait a week, right? And that was one of the biggest kind of negatives that was fed to us early in the industry. Is some statistic 80 or 90% of alcohol spirits specifically that's purchased is intended to be consumed within 3 hours. Start consuming within 3 hours. It's I'm going to make drinks tonight, so I'm going to go buy alcohol today.
Right.
So how are you going to ship it online if people are going to get a week from now? So we had two ways to combat that strategy. One is the fact that we're craft. If you saw a bottle of Fortaleza and Yeho online, you'd buy it and you'd be willing to wait for it because it's not something that you can get your hands on any other day.
Find it.
And so if people realize, and people have been doing that with wine for a while, right? There's a lot of SKUs of wine, more than any one store can carry all of. So if you like something specific, you're willing to order and wait for it to get to you. And then two, we thought that by running a 5-day sale every month, that we can move that threshold for someone to order. So that I don't need this right now, but I'm interested in the market. Oh, they have a sale right now. So because of that creates a scarcity that I'm going to go and order and wait. If they're like, oh, I'm having a party tomorrow and I can't use Ameragave because if I order it now, it won't be here tomorrow. Then we're like, well, let's hit that crowd by offering a sale every opportunity we can to say, okay, well, I'll order now for some future event where I may need it.
Yep.
That's hypothetical, but that's something that I believe will happen.
And I think interesting if you're going after the whiskey drinker, which are, I would assume, not really buying for the party tonight.
Yeah.
You know, they're buying it to enjoy it in their liquor cabinets for some time. You know, they're not taking shots from it. They're not really making margaritas for a Cinco de Mayo party tomorrow. Like they're drinking it because they want to have it.
Yeah.
And so I think this is an interesting play of like, it's fine if it takes 4 or 5 business days, but I think that's an education piece that not a lot of people know about. And I think this is maybe something in the pre-purchase, maybe cart abandonment surveys that you would get out of this. So like, I thought I couldn't do this. Like, am I just like looking at the product and you're telling me I could go to my local liquor store. So how can you make that clear in your messaging?
Yeah. And once you get it into their cabinet, right, they have many other liquors in their cabinet. How do you remind them that they have this bottle of Ameragave in their cabinet and that you should be drinking it, right?
Yeah.
And that's where all the swag comes in. That's where the hats come in. That's
Yeah.
where the tumblers come in. That's where the T-shirts come in with cool sayings on them, right?
Yeah.
Like things that can remind them that they have this thing that they should be consuming regularly, so they can go ahead and buy another bottle, right? That's, I think some of the more successful companies out there, they realize how important swag is because that swag makes you remember that you should be consuming the product, that you should be engaging with the product.
Yeah.
And it also informs others, right? If you're wearing it in public, that you're endorsing this product in a way, right?
Yeah.
So every single of your customers, if they're engaging in the swag, buying the swag, they become marketers for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's what these celebrities do so well.
Yeah.
Is that they keep top of mind because they are posting about it constantly.
Yeah.
And people are following Kendall Jenner. They're following Kevin Hart. And if they're posting about, their tequila, every 5 posts, it's like when they think of a tequila to purchase or, to drink, like what comes to mind? Obviously 818. Even though it tastes like cat piss, it's like they don't care. They do the marketing so well that it's like, oh, Kendall Jenner, and they party with it. So like that can go a long way.
Yeah.
And if you can combine the substance, the juice, the product with the marketing and keeping top of mind, man, this is I think a way to win.
Yeah.
Well,
Nick, all right, so
it's-
let's up the ante here, right? Let's say you've tried influencer marketing.
Yep.
You sent it out to 10 guys. Out of those 10 guys, 3 responded. They took you up on your offer.
Yep.
They posted a video.
Yep.
And that video made a big splash.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden you're generating, let's say, $50,000 to $100,000 of revenue per month.
Yep.
So you're getting that initial product market fit.
Yep.
What would you do as your very next step?
Triple down.
Triple down.
This is
Okay.
why I say that if you find your one growth channel, stop trying to look for another one.
Okay.
Like, this is the mistake that too many people make of like, oh, if I found this one growth channel, what if there's 5 more I can go
Look at all
find?
this untapped potential.
Yeah, exactly. What
It's
if
a
I
gold
can
rush.
do events, and what if I can do Facebook ads, and what if I can, do my own videos and all this stuff? And it's like you'll drive yourself mad, and you'll go crazy trying to dilute your small team's resources into trying new things. If you find something that's working, go as hard as you fucking can to do just the exact same thing that you did until you run out of a runway or money or
how
space.
do you triple down?
So
How?
if you are having success with influencers posting about the product, or you are having success of getting them to an event where you're creating content, I would try to say, okay, these 3 people, I reached out to 10, 3 bit, and they posted about it, or I did an event with one of them. Now, okay, what does the entire landscape of these influencers look like for this specific category? And I knew that this was the category because I talked to the person that loved my product, and I asked them directly, who do you trust? Who do you follow? They told me this person. I would go back to that research and say, okay, who else do you trust? What other things? What are the adjacent circles of influence that you consume online? And I would start to get a picture of everything. And then say, okay, I tried this one thing, this one category. How many other influencers are out there in the whiskey space, for example? I would get a full lay of the land. Maybe it's 500. This is where I would start to look at your first marketing hire. Of you're doing this yourself, you're not hiring anybody to do it. You have some initial success, and then it starts to compound a little bit, and you say, okay, I think I could grow this by 10x if I just did a lot more of these, and if I did them consistently, maybe 3 to 5 a month instead of 3 to 5 a year. So then you say, okay, I'm going to reach out to all of these influencers, and I'm going to make a hire to help me with the processes, and I'm going to make a hire to help me with the communication. It's all still going to come from my Instagram account or my email. It's coming from Bret, but I'm trying to scale this in a way that makes sense for me, where I can focus maybe on the business a little bit more. But I know this marketing channel works, so I'm going to try to build a process.
Yeah.
That's what I would do
and by the way,
build this.
Does it come from Bret, or does it come from
Bret?
From the company's Instagram?
I would come from Bret. Still personal.
So
it works so much better. I've tried both ways. When it comes from Roman, people are way more keen to respond.
My profile where I'm on a mountain bike, got the Leadville.
And I would have some product in your profile. Make sure to,
I do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Make sure to let people know that you stand behind this and why.
Okay.
Make your profile page a marketing sales page.
Yeah.
Veteran-backed companies, that's a post. You trying it, that's a post.
Yeah.
How do you produce it? That's a post. So they can go on there and they can be like, okay, this is a actual guy, first of all. And I actually trust this guy. He is messaging me, even though it's, a VA in Philippines that, is doing this on a laptop, and a chicken is like doing like most of the typing for them on the side. But that's the way that you can double down or triple down on this, right?
Okay.
Is like you are building the process. You tested it, it's working. Don't fuck with anything else. Try to do as much of this one thing as you possibly can until there's no more influencers within this possible category that you looked at. Let's say it's whiskey influencers that review whiskeys online, and now they're willing to do a post about you that is tequila, or they're willing to do an event with you that is tequila, right?
Yeah.
And you're getting content from that to then reach more people online from what they are telling you. It's social proof mixed with organic viral content. And hopefully one of these pops off and gets hundreds of thousands of views, and that's a CPM that you wouldn't even be able to pay for if you tried, right? Because you're really relying on them to get you the views and leveraging their audience, right? So you're trying to build the process. You have to build it. You build the process of how you could 10x this, and that could come from the outreach. It could come from the documents. It could come from the emails, the way that you message on IG. Once you have a process in place, hire somebody to take it over. Hand it over to them and make it as easy as possible for them to be successful. So it could be a part-time, it could be a full-time marketing hire, it could be a contractor in the Philippines. Lots of different options here to do it in a cost-effective way, and just have them do that all day, every day.
Okay.
Then you start to go to the adjacent circle, like I mentioned, of like who else do they follow? How can I maximize this channel? It's still influencer marketing. It's still trust personas, but maybe in country clubs or the cigar aficionados or in private jets or in luxury cars, right? They are consuming this content online, and this is your target market. You're coming from research. And then start to develop little pods of teams that do outreach in each of these categories. It's not doing different marketing. It's the same thing. You're just trying to replicate it across all of these different circles of influence that they might enjoy, right? And do this until you can't do it anymore. And I personally think that this could be a channel for you where it could be your only channel. You have complementing what we call 20% experimental channels, where 20% of your resources, of your time, goes to maybe doing ads, or maybe goes to doing offline events, or sponsoring bars or South by Southwest events, or whatever it is. You mentioned the Red Bull thing, maybe doing, we could barrel roll this plane right now and put a Ameragave logo on it and advertise that way, right? That's the 20. That's the 20%. But the 80%, always go back to what your main channel is and where you should be spending most of your time, and then do a recap on your hours from the last month or the last 3 months of like, did I really spend the time on this channel that I know is working, or did I go crazy, shiny object syndrome founder, which is the most popular mistake that I see, is like they just start to go crazy and they start to like try to like do too many things at once, and then they go away from what's working. And when you're trying to do that in a hyper competitive space, that's when you can lose really quickly, and then you don't really have one thing where you can go back to, and it's like, oh fuck, like my sales are down, or there's another celebrity tequila that came out, and I don't really have one thing that I can lean on as my one channel that really works. And it can be small at first, right? It doesn't have to be a massive sales unlock. It's just like, hey, what's working, what's resonating with my customer, and I feel is the right channel. That's a big part early on as a founder of a feeling of what's working. It may not translate to sales right away, but you believe in it.
Yeah.
And you say, hey, this feels right to me, and this aligns with the mission of my company.
Right.
And I'm talking to people at these events, or I'm talking to the influencers, and they really align with what I'm trying to do. And eventually, it will hit. One of these videos will go viral. One of the events, the content you create from it will go viral. And that is an example of you finding your growth channel.
Well, and I think, I'd like to, this is all very short-term vision stuff, right? But thinking 10 years out, right? Like, what's the long-term vision goal for the company? And, I pay a lot of attention to Red Bull. If I could choose to, do anything in the world tomorrow, I'd be the CEO of Red Bull. I think that's got to be one of the most fun jobs in the world. And because they don't spend their money on advertising, they spend their advertising money on content, and then the content goes organically viral.
Sure.
Right? So take the Felix Baumgartner, he did the Stratos dive, right? He skydived from space. They spent $30 million on that project. It was not only extremely memorable, but it got more impressions than a Super Bowl ad, right? I can't even tell you the name of one Super Bowl ad I saw 3 months ago, but I still remember sitting there watching the Stratos jump.
Right.
And so, and they didn't pay any money in advertising on that. They just put the money into the content. Their CPM for their 30 million was probably super. They gave it to every media outlet for free.
Yeah.
Produce something like really fun and crazy.
Yep.
Right. Same thing like with the F1 teams. They did the math, and I don't want to quote it exactly, but the number of impressions and shares that their F1 team gets, they could never get the same amount of impressions by paying advertisers.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like the long-term vision of this is cult-like following.
Sure.
Build a community around people that follow our mission of America first, probably a little more libertarian, freedom-oriented. Like if you look at our bottles, we say join the agave revolution.
Yep.
Right? The word revolution to me is a key word because it's like we're revolutionizing agave by bringing it here, but revolution is also a very patriotic term. We launched on the day of the Alamo, and we're bringing agave in from Mexico. And then on a lot of our bottles, like even in this case, the only thing it says is we believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of American agave.
Ooh.
So it's like we're trying to go after like the subtle hints of like that crowd, build a community around people that jive with that concept.
Yeah.
And so that's where I want us to go, and that's where I see myself. Like I would never sell this company if, as the CEO, I just got to go do these types of events of things that I love with a community of people that are like me. I'd never sell the company because I'd be having too much fun.
Exactly.
And so that's where I want to go, but that's long term. And so I think what you're saying now is much more inspiring to me to build towards that than what I've been doing of like, host a giveaway, get a bunch of email addresses.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I'm saying that like so many business owners get wrong is like they try to do all this tactical, fancy marketing tactics as the first thing that they do. But like I'm always talking to them and being like, first of all, do you know who this person is that you're talking to? Have you defined this person? Have you talked to anybody? Can you pull a name for me right now of an actual person that really embodies your brand?
Yeah.
Most of them say no. Another question: what do you stand for?
Yeah.
What do you believe in? What's your mission? You ask that question, most people would say, I don't know, like, and I sell fucking fidget spinners. I don't know what the mission is, right? Another question is...
that's how I felt, a year ago when we were launching something. I'm like, I don't know.
Exactly. Like, what is that? These are the building blocks of not a company, but a brand.
And that's where I keep going back to Red Bull because I've learned, like, do you know the name of the founder of Red Bull?
Dietrich.
Oh, damn it. Okay. Well, most people don't, right?
Yeah.
He
stole it from a Thai company, actually.
Yeah. Well, he didn't steal it. He was 49%. The Thai company was 51%. So he was the marketing arm of them, right?
Amazing story.
But most people don't know his name, and that's intentional. He's extremely private.
Yeah.
There's only one biography written about in German. It hasn't even been translated into English yet.
Yeah.
And so I had to listen to a podcast for someone to summarize the German version to me. And there was one time he found somebody writing a biography on him, and he sent him a letter and said, for as long as a broken kneecap costs $500 in Russia, you will never be safe. And it was never published. So, like, he was insanely private, but if you met him, you feel like you would know him because the brand of Red Bull embodies everything of who he is.
Yes.
So it's like, he is the brand is him.
Exactly.
So early on when I was like, what does our company stand for? What should our mission be? And it took me a long time to realize it's me. Like, the company's mission is my mission. The company's values are my values. Like, and that's the only way it's going to be successful is I don't have to make this like Bret Beckett everywhere, but it can be Ameragave. But every time I post, and the words that I use in the beginning, and the missions that I strive for, yes, it needs to be influenced by our avatar, but it's not going to be successful unless I'm fully bought into it. And the only way I'm going to buy into it is to actually make it represent my values.
And these are the questions that I think you need to write down and define for yourself as a business owner, as someone who wants to build a brand, not just a company, and who wants a brand that will stand the test of time as well. Because most companies, 75% of startups fail within the first year, and over 90% fail within 2 years. It's a uphill battle that you're in. And so, asking these questions at the very start is almost counterintuitive, because what you want to do is like, I spent all this fucking money. I need to get sales.
Yeah.
I need to go out there. I need to market. I need to do Facebook ads. I need to get email. I need to go do something right now. And so people kind of feel if you're not doing those things, you're not selling.
Yeah.
But I think taking a step back, the building blocks of a company, of marketing, of strategy is answering the questions of, to recap, it is, what do I stand for?
Yeah.
Personally, what do I stand for? And in turn, what does this company stand for?
Yeah.
Who am I serving? What is the customer? Define it very specifically. And I think another thing is really, what kind of business do I want to build? Do I want to build a lifestyle business? Do I want to build a super high profit business? Or do I want to build something that I love running and I am the face of?
Yeah.
Right? You are the marketing channel in a way, right? Of trying to, maybe unlike D3, but maybe like more of a celebrity-backed company, of you are trying to sell this hand to hand from your beliefs, right? You are trying to sell this to this specific person. So you know who you're going after, you know what you stand for, and then from there, you can then go to these questions that you asked of, okay, the actual marketing can fit into one of three buckets, which is earned media, owned media, and paid media.
Yeah.
All marketing fits into those three buckets.
That's nice.
What you mentioned with Red Bull,
earned media.
They made a decision very early on to say, we are going to do crazy shit and produce content out of it that no one has ever seen before.
Yeah.
We're going to do a skydive from a drone on top of the tallest building in Dubai, of someone that wake surfed off of a pool and jumped off, filmed by a drone, pulled by a drone. No one's seen this shit before.
Yeah.
And so they have really aligned their brand on this movement, like you said. This, what do I stand for? I stand for being a little bit of a badass, thrill-seeking, adrenaline junkie.
Yeah.
And to do that, I need energy. And I'm going to drink a shotgun Red Bull before I go do this.
It took Red Bull like 10 years before they sponsored their first athlete. So it took them a while to really find.
To find it, exactly. But if you can shortcut this, and a lot of people, they go through a lot of heartache because they don't ask these building block questions of what do I stand for? Who is my enemy? Who is my customer? And then what kind of marketing within these three buckets of earned, owned, paid do I want to really invest in the most? And I think you're kind of gravitating already towards earned media. That's the companies that you love and you respect. So like within that, again, you're take a step back. We're not talking about tactics yet.
Right.
We're not talking tactical yet. We're talking strategy. Okay, earned. Great. I want to start there. Earned media is magnet based, right? You're doing some shit that goes viral and you're attracting people. Owned media is like email marketing. You own the channel, right? A community, like you mentioned, that is owned marketing. You own the thing, and it is a way of distributing your content. Paid media is push marketing. It's the opposite of pull magnet marketing, where you're pushing your message to people, let's say on Facebook or on Instagram or on sponsorships at South by Southwest, whatever it is. You're pushing it out there. So you're saying, okay, there are the three types. I'm not trying to play in all three, although I can in the future. To start, I answer the questions. I have $25,000 to go after this initial campaign, and I want it to be in the earned media. So then you go and answer this different question of like, if I were to go and create the most basic content of tequila, I'm drinking it at an event, and I'm like smoking a cigar, it's like that's earned media in a sense, but like, is it going to earn you actually any impressions? Probably not. Why does Red Bull content earn them so many impressions? Because it's fucking crazy. and no one's seen it before, and it's different, and people watch it. It's scroll stopping. It goes viral. So for you, I think you need to answer those same questions of like, what would be different content that I could produce that no other tequila brand is doing?
For my crowd.
For your crowd specifically. Again, you answered that question already. You know who your crowd is. So you're building this content for the crowd. And you're not even talking about tactics yet. You're still talking about the questions of how to fuel the tactics. The tactics come out of these questions that you're answering of, okay, earned media, okay, different content, okay, you know your crowd.
It's like for our crowd, it's like we go build a blockade in front of the IRS building.
Exactly, man. Exactly, dude. Yeah. Or, you know, you're doing something that no tequila brand has ever done before, right? You're doing like on the street content. You know, you're going to a whiskey tasting on a plane, or a tequila tasting on a plane of people that, you know, is a little more aspirational content that's never seen before, right? You're creating the content that you know you will love, that is different, it is in the earned media space, and then you kind of find within this space, maybe it's a certain category of influencer that you're doing this content with, and then it can come out. Maybe it's not an influencer, maybe it's you doing crazy shit. You're doing the content, you're the face of the brand. Then that's the media. And you just do that. You know, Noah Kagan, the founder of Sumo, has this rule called the rule of 100. And if you are trying to get into a new channel, or you're trying to produce content, and you have not done it 100 times or 100 days in a row, then don't talk to me about if this worked or not. Don't quit 10 pieces of content into it and be like, whoop, that didn't work for me. Time to go on to Facebook ads. You know, it's the biggest thing that people try to do. They write it off, and they don't really understand the power of consistency, of being and believing in a channel, and being like, I'm going to fucking just brute force this content and do 100 times and then see what happens. And I guarantee you, if you were to answer the building block questions, you were to understand earned versus owned versus paid media, you go in and you're producing different content and you do it 100 times, I will bet my life savings that one of those 100 times will pop off. You'll get a bunch of sales, you'll get a bunch of views and impressions, and you'll learn so much without really spending a lot of money, man. We're still talking about stuff that you could do on your own, but you're just doing it as consistently as possible, as differently as possible, and with more strategy than any tequila maker or any brand is doing right now.
Hey Nick, I got a question for you. The strategy you told me about for bringing on ambassadors and putting them into a Slack group, at what stage would you consider a strategy like that versus one-on-one emails?
I love this, man. I love this, and this is where I would say second phase or second stage of you reached out to 5 to 10. 3, let's say 8 answered of the 10. 3 are like, yeah, I'm down. We could do something like maybe a sponsored post or maybe an event. I live in Austin, man. Maybe we could do something at the Barton Creek Country Club or something like that. You know, you do one event and you're like, oh shit, like I got some really good content from this. I posted it on my socials and like it actually kind of went semi-viral, right? I'm gonna do it again and see it. Maybe you have a couple people that now you're talking to. You're texting with these influencers, right? You then make it easy for them to make money from you by saying, hey man, I have this Slack channel that I just made, and maybe for you it's not Slack, maybe it's a text group, a WhatsApp group, or a Facebook group, or you can create a community on School, something where you can start to centralize the communication. And you say, hey, I actually got a couple people that I've been talking to, a couple big whiskey influencers and one big cigar influencer. I would love to introduce you to them. I think you would get along with them. We talk in this WhatsApp group about how we promote Ameragave. They post, or maybe it's a Slack group, they post their videos in this group after we've been going a little bit, a couple of months. We've got some content, and now they can start talking to each other to say, hey, I'm earning money from Bret and from Ameragave. They're paying me, and again, these are not massive influencers. You're not going to get a Kevin Hart in there. There's the micro influencers I mentioned earlier, under 100,000 subs, under 100,000 followers. They're still trying to monetize their own brands, just like you are. So they're in this to get money, but they're also aligned with your mission. That's why you pick them. So then you kick them into a Slack group or a WhatsApp group.
Community of the influencers.
And the community starts to build from 2 people, from 3 people, from 5 people, right? That's where it starts. And then I think you can start to think about, okay, what does a community of customers look like? If you have a community of trust personas, of people that they love, then building a community of actual personas of customers becomes even easier, because they can be in the same community as the people that they love. And that's where it starts to organically take the network effects
it starts to kind of produce a little bit of a life of its own. And what you would hope if an influencer channel takes off, and we're doing this for mirror safety as well, there's a lot of people talking about mirror safety already, and there will be a lot of people talking about Ameragave. How do you incentivize them to talk about your brand more often, consistently? Like we mentioned, maybe a rev share of anything that they sell because you're doing online sales, plus a flat fee commission based on the CPM that we talked about earlier, and make it easy for you to manage. Well, just get them into a central place where you could talk to them. You could say, hey, I'm doing a bounty event this month where you can earn an extra $10 on any promotion that you do on any buyer that you send us, right? They can talk to each other about, hey, I did this video, it worked really well. It was actually a comparison video of whiskey versus the extra añejo, and it popped off. It went viral. You guys should try something like this.
So let them come up with the content.
Exactly, man.
Okay.
So you're stepping out of it a little bit. Again, at first, hand-to-hand combat.
Right.
Talking about tactical e-commerce, man. This is you on the ground trying to get something to work. But eventually, after you made this first hire, they're starting to facilitate the relationships, reaching out from your accounts. They start to take on a little bit of a mind of their own. It starts to become a little bit of a thing where you can step out of it, and it hopefully will grow into hundreds of influencers in different spaces. Again, all that your customer follows, and I think you'll get a lot out of it, and maybe even things that you didn't even know people would follow and buy tequila from. And so that's where it starts to evolve into a marketing channel. Right? At first, it's not a marketing channel. It's just you trying to get this shit to work by just one-to-one, just brute force. It starts to become a marketing channel when you start to effectively recruit. A marketing manager is doing this on your behalf, and they're doing it in a way that is predictable and is consistent. They can do it every single month. And I honestly think this could be a really good channel for you. If I owned this company, that's where I would start.
Thanks for inviting Nick, man.
Yeah, great advice.
And Roman, I'm kind of curious in your thoughts on this, because one thing that you said was pretty inspiring for me, which was step back, right? Because I'm spinning my wheels a lot.
Yep.
And I'm working till 3 a.m. every single night.
Yep.
Still have a day job.
Yep.
Still got a family.
Yep.
Right? Like just sleeping. I probably haven't slept more than 4 hours since November. And I went 4 or 5 days without making a sale. And
stressful.
It was stressful. I was scared. It was like panic mode. Like my stomach was in knots and blah blah. And then a sale comes and you're like, oh thank God, And so like, and then I had to step back and realize like, it's been 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Like we've been live for 5 weeks. Like, like it's okay.
Yeah.
Like keep grinding, keep growing. Like, but grind it in a way that is focused, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if you want to shift to mindset, Roman, but I'm curious about your start to the journey. But there's definitely been, you go 4 or 5 days where no sale comes in. I feel like I'm pushing and pushing and pushing, and then I'm just like, wow, like it gets tough, man.
Well, when I first put up my website, I remember our very first sale. And I was like, wow, somebody actually bought something off of this website, right? Because we were an Amazon-only brand.
Yeah.
And the reasoning for creating a website was people started, posting in the Q&As on Amazon, why don't you guys have a website? And I was like, that's a really good question. We should get a website. So I put up the website, and it was like the simplest Shopify template you can have. And then I remember order 1001, right? Because it always starts off at 1,000. And one guy bought, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then all of a sudden, and this is no ads, right? We have no SEO. Really, the only way people are finding our brand is through influencers. That was the first thing that we did. And Nick said something really, really, really good. And he mentioned that if you find something that works, double down, triple down on it, right? Because since then, influencers grew. We kind of took the influencer program we have for granted, and we stopped really hitting it hard on there. Because the influencers would just come in, they would ask for product, we would send it to them, they'd do a video, right? But we stopped kind of actively seeding, reaching out, conceptualizing content ideas with them and really pushing the ball forward ourselves instead of it just letting roll down the hill, right? For a while, we're just putting the ball in the hill, letting it roll, right? That's not a good strategy. So now I think we're kind of one step behind, right? And we're trying to kind of catch up on influencer marketing, and that's something that Nick is helping us tremendously with, is really create a well-oiled machine of a partnership, influencer, ambassador program, right? Where, there's people that on the team that their only job is to do this one thing. And
predictable.
I think for us that's going to be a game changer this year, really. But yeah, from like a mindset standpoint, I mean, I knew it was going to work eventually, right? The insight that I had was that war is cyclical, okay? And I believe that these protective products are important because there's literally no other brand in the country that is producing protective equipment specifically for children, right? So we wanted to create a brand that included all of these underserved segments of the market. And one piece of feedback that we'd receive when we'd sell adult masks is, hey, I don't think I could justify this purchase because if something actually happens and I don't have something for my child to put on their face, I'm going to feel like a piece of shit, right? And that's justifiable, right? Are you really going to be able to put that mask on looking at Junior saying, hey, Junior, I'm sorry, we don't have anything for you? So that's the realization I came to. And war is cyclical, right? I knew it was just a matter of time that all of these issues that we're seeing on a global scale, all these things we're hearing about are just going to bubble up, right?
Yeah.
And we prepared for that eventuality. And for some reason, I felt like 2020 was the year. I don't know what it was about 2020.
Very convenient.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
Maybe
Maybe
have to look into where you were in Wuhan at the time.
And I just had a gut feeling like, 2020 seems like kind of a weird.
Why don't you write that big check to
weird
Fauci?
year.
3 months before that.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. God forbid they actually investigate this. Yeah, so I mean, it's all about insight, right? What does your gut tell you, right? Because a lot of what I do is based on my gut, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have experience in marketing, but at the end of the day, I feel that my gut intuition has served me better than my marketing knowledge in this space.
That's great. And for us, my gut feeling was that, 10 years ago, tequila meant Jose Cuervo, which is, what people take shots of in college. And then all of a sudden, people found out that there was premium tequila that actually was amazing. And then it started going exponentially viral around the same time COVID hit. And then now we're seeing it planted all over the world. We're seeing tequila being exported all over the world. And we're seeing a bunch of localized agave spirits being distilled in different countries across the world. So like whiskey didn't stay in Ireland, champagne didn't stay in France. And so we're placing a bet on the fact, I mean, when you listen to country music, they sing more about tequila today than they sing about whiskey. And so we're just like, look, there's a wave coming of tequila becoming popular. There's nobody serving the American market in this space. And we also were placing a bet on the fact that people have been ordering wine online for a long time because that's how they get craft stuff. And we think that people are going to start accepting the ability to order spirits online. So that stuff is still all materializing. I won't say that it's all here yet, but we're positioned the best for it because there's nobody else doing it right now.
Yeah. I think it's such a good point that you made of belief, and I think that this is so important for early stage founders to understand is like, what do I believe? Like, do I really believe in this mission? Do I really think that there is a market for this? And I think the more conviction that you have with this product working, and you as a founder doing everything that you can to stop at nothing to make this thing work. Roman mentioned his belief in war is cyclical.
Yeah.
It's also a very emotional product. War will come back around. War, for bad or good, is a wave.
Yeah.
It is a big wave that is a trend that will always be here and probably will grow as it has this year again. And so you're, as a founder of a profit, first company, you're riding a wave of something that is already happening in the world.
Yeah.
That's where your belief comes from a lot, or some of your belief comes from. Of like, I think that people are going to be purchasing more tequila.
Yeah.
Flat out. I think that people will be purchasing more organically made tequila, more real tequila, not celebrity bullshit, no additives.
Right.
I think people will start to purchase more American-made companies, not just spirits, just American-made companies.
Right.
So these things,
I also believe that, at the time we launched this company, I believed that a recession was, coming.
Yeah.
And that when a recession happens, the first thing people do is they stop going to restaurants. and they don't stop drinking.
Yeah, they just
and
stay
so,
at home and
so
cook.
they stay at home and cook, and they start making their own cocktails.
Yeah.
And what happens to the average dollar price per bottle during a recession is it goes up. Because restaurants are making cocktails with the cheapest shit they can find. And when you're making it at home, you want to use something a little bit nicer. And so
demand goes up.
So even in a recession, one of the few things people spend more on is spirits.
And I think it's so important to go back to. As an early stage founder, maybe you don't have the sales yet, and a lot of times you're probably asking yourself, like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, why am I selling a tequila? I could just go get a job as an engineer. It's safer. I would have a nice life for my family, and that's it, right? But going back to your conviction, why you are doing this, write it down, man. Of like, why do I believe in this with all of my soul, with all of my heart, that's driving me to do this? And that, for me, shines through.
Well, and I think what now I have to shift my focus to, because like this shiny object syndrome has been real, is like, okay, I do believe in all these things.
Yeah.
We're pre-2020 for gas masks, right? Like the timing is here, it's coming.
It's the wave, I think, of tequila.
Now I need to get super scrappy about everything that I do.
Yeah.
And so that's been like my most recent motivation is like, people are finding us, they're reaching out to us. I'm getting all these influencers reaching out, like, I'm a fitness influencer and I'd love to do something with Ameragave, and I'm just like, look, like right now, I either have to focus on stuff that's going to build my brand or going to give me an immediate ROI.
Yes.
And anything outside of that, the cards aren't, it's not in the cards right now.
Saying no is a superpower.
Right. And so, like, if I could get my fixed cost down, like my fixed cost of overhead for this company, if I were to cut my ad spend, cut everything, like stop the software I'm not using, is about $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And so if like I could ride that for a long, long time until the opportunity is right, but that would mean that I'm not actually doing anything active, right? That would mean that I'm waiting for people to discover me, which is not a good plan either. And so we're spending much more than $1,000 a month on it. But I need to recognize that, like, I need to make these attempts and do these things, do it in a really scrappy way, and also recognize that the timing that I was betting on is still coming. And every piece of evidence from when I launched this over a year ago until now still tells me that this timing is coming. But maybe it's not completely ripe yet, and I need to be alive when it gets here.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think you need to be ready. The brand, the voice, the messaging, the channels that you're in, how much you believe in it, how much you stand for it, all of that is like the overnight success they had, right?
Yeah.
The overnight success took 10 years to make, and when the wave hits, when people finally come around to being like, oh, wait a second, like 818 tastes like shit, I don't want to drink this, like, but I still like tequila. What's other options that I have out there? Or maybe the tequila market continues to expand and it's more of a slow burn of a wave increasing. You are ready, right? You have prepared all these things. You have conviction. You have the building blocks of the marketing and the strategy, and then the viral effects of a wave, similar to a war, of someone being prepared for a potential, threat that they need gas masks for, will take off organically. And, Roman, when are the months that you have the most sales? Is it the one you're doing the most marketing, or, the influencers?
So the months we have the most sales is really, standard retail, right, which is Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday time. But really when we get the most sales is when something happens in the world.
Exactly.
It's called a red alert event, right? And we've been through several red alert events. We've been through COVID. We've been through the Ohio incident with the train derailment.
The fires.
We've been through the fires. We've been through the war starting in Ukraine, and now, all the subsequent things that are happening in the Middle East. Each time there's an escalation of force from either side, we see it, right? Because the first thing people think about is air, right? It follows Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and at the core of that is physiological survival. At the core of physiological survival is 3 minutes without air, right? And then comes 3 minutes without food, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. So people think about air first.
Yeah.
So when some shit happens, the air gets purchased first, then people kind of go down the line of purchasing these other items that they need to get through whatever situation's happening.
Yeah, and I think you guys do that really well. Of if a customer or a person is worried about something, or they have an interest in something, these are all emotions that drive marketing. And a red alert event, if they're worried about biological warfare, what's going to happen? The Google searches are going to skyrocket of like, what do I do if there is a bomb here? What if I do if there is biological warfare? Like they're trying to get answers, right? They're trying to find something to help them. The emotion is fear. And you, as a company, are trying to get in front of that by answering the questions, by calming the fears, saying you can be ready if you get this one thing. So you're providing value. You know, Roman's company, Mira Safety, also has a lot of content for them of what they should be doing, not just the gas mask, but what the protocol should be. So you're getting in front of them in a lot of different ways, but it first comes from the wave. You know, it first comes from the searches. You didn't create the searches.
No.
They came out of an event that happened in the world, and the same exact thing is you could apply to spirits.
Yeah.
It may not be the spike in red alert events where people are, you know, super worried about a certain thing right now, about I need to, you know, drink extra añejo tequila or I'm going to die right now. You're not on that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You're one or two step up of like, I want more life fulfillment or contentment or enjoyment with my family and friends, and I want to make better choices in the world. I want to align myself with brands that I like. And so that will be more of a slow burn of trending upward in, let's say, Google searches around, you know, additive-free tequilas or American-first products or companies, right? That will go up as the wave begins to grow. And I think it's about positioning yourself and your company to be aligned with those things that people are searching for. And I really believe this, that people buy off of a limited amount of emotions. There's, I believe it's like 13 emotions, core emotions that people feel that drive a purchase. It's not a feature, it's not a benefit, it's not how it tastes, it's how it makes them feel. It's fear, excitement, happiness, jealousy, trust, all of these things, even though you don't think about this when you buy, it is influencing your decision to buy.
Yeah.
And so if you could tap into those emotions and you understand the emotions that people are feeling and why they're purchasing, going back to the building block questions, you're going to have a company that is going to be a lot more strategic with how you move and how you stay scrappy and how you do marketing and how you scale. And it all comes back to your belief and your conviction, because I think another important point of this is, like I mentioned, you know, within 2 years, over 90% of startups close shop. Well, why? The first reason is burnout. The founders, they do not have belief or conviction enough to say, I want to keep going. They're like, I have a job, I have kids, this is not what I should be doing, I don't know why I'm doing this, I don't really have that belief in the wave or the why or the mission, so I'm going to stop. The second reason is runway. They run out of money. They're shiny object syndrome. They're spending over here, they're spending over here. You know, 18 months later, they're like, I don't have a growth channel, and I've spent $150,000 of my savings. I cashed in my 401k, and now I'm more scared than ever. I have 2 kids, and I don't know where to go from here, so I'm going to close shop. Those are the 2 biggest reasons.
Yeah.
So if you can realize that early on and say, if I go 4 or 5 days without a sale, that's fine, right? You have the conviction and the belief. You've written it down. You know who you're serving. You're staying scrappy with your marketing. You're not spending that much money. And you know, just like Roman knew early on, you know if you keep doing this, it will work.
Yeah. No, I like that. I've read Think and Grow Rich twice in my life.
I'm reading it right now. I'm rereading it, actually.
I was going to say is, and I know I'm due for another read, because the last time that I read it, what I was able to manifest in my life was more than I could have possibly imagined.
Yes.
And it was in a completely different avenue. And, you know, we're all human, and we've all been through really dark times, and I don't want to get into that, but I will say that there was a point in my life where I took shoe polish out of my closet, and I went to my bathroom mirror, and I wrote down one thing that was the most important thing to me at that moment, and I left it there for a year. And I was scared about where my life was headed, wrote that down, and I today could not be possibly happier about the outcome that resulted from that situation. And it was a ton of work. I'm not going to say it was easy.
Yeah.
It was, you know, it was an insane portion of my life. But I do endurance sports. I don't know, we talked about some of this last time, but I do 24-hour races and raced Leadville last year, and like giving up is not something that it's not something I do easily.
Yes.
But But it is, it comes in waves. And even in the 24-hour races, that's why I do them, because you hit a breaking point, and it's all about what are you going to do as a human being right now. You have a decision to make. Are you going to quit?
Yep.
Are you going to stop? Are you going to pack up, put your bike up, and go sit down and say, I didn't finish this race?
Yep.
Or are you going to keep going? And what I've learned in every one of those situations, why I keep doing these races, to remind myself that when you make the decision to keep going, 30 minutes later, you don't feel that way anymore.
Yep.
Like it's a cycle, and this too shall pass, right?
Yep.
And this too shall pass lasts for both bad things and good things, right? You had the worst day of your life, this too shall pass. You had the best day of your life, this too shall pass. But if you learn to consistently apply yourself, you will continue to better continue to build the foundation and better your life. But I am due for a read of that book, and I'm due to put some shoe polish on my mirror. So.
Dude, I love it, man. I'm rereading it right now, and desire and conviction.
Yeah.
Exactly what we talked about are the two big lessons.
Clearly defined goals.
Clearly defined goals, and just not stopping. And dude, this is getting me fired up right now, man. I feel like you're the white David Goggins over here, bro.
You got any shoe polish, Roman?
We'll find some. So this was brilliant. I think a lot of good ideas were exchanged here. So, Bret, what are your biggest takeaways?
Oh, man.
What are you going to do differently? What did you learn today?
I mean, the biggest thing is scaling down the multi-channel approach that I've had, right? Because I feel like I'm kind of like shooting with the shotgun and saying, hey, like, what exploded, right? And recognizing that, that there is a huge alignment between my vision of having a community-oriented goal here with Red Bull type founding, and then what the steps that I can take right now. So before we started this conversation, I was convinced that like one day I'm going to have a community, one day I'm going to do these brand-oriented events, but I can't do that right now because I need an immediate ROI, and that was disproven, I think. And there are things that I can do immediately to start building that community today, not necessarily expect the ROI, get really scrappy, and build this community. And so I think, I'm going to finish this giveaway because what it's done is it's given me the contact information to call out and do the customer research of people who have a curiosity for a product. So that was not a waste of money, but I think I'm going to start, scrapping everything else and start to try to build a relationship with as many of these influencers as I can, and be really focused about, yes, we need sales, but more than that, we need to survive and we need to learn about who our avatar really is, zero in on that, and start building that community today. I don't need to wait to do that. So.
Love it.
Awesome. Yeah, and on a tactical level, what are we going to share? We're going to share questions for the survey once again, pre-purchase surveys, post-purchase surveys. We're going to share an avatar template, maybe an influencer pitch. I don't know. What else do you think we should share?
Influencer pitch. I think some example slides on an influencer or trust persona of if you're going after an influencer, how do you decide on doing that? If you're trying to form your own customer avatar persona, how do you go about doing that? If I'm pitching an influencer, how much do I offer them? What are some standard rates that I can at least start with?
And
I think that's all very helpful information.
There are some apps out there that help evaluate. They like appraise influencers.
Yeah,
right?
you can do that. I mean, there's tons of websites that have done this, by channel, and so I think these are good starting points that we can share. We can share some of the questions, like you mentioned, on if you're to send this out, even if you only have 20, 30 people on your list, what kind of questions should you ask them to get the answers that are going to be helpful for your business? And when you're talking to people, when you're interviewing people, you should be asking the same questions so you can compare them and start to formulate, a marketing strategy around this. And I think we can share all of that information so people can use it for themselves.
Brilliant. I think that's going to be very helpful. So thanks so much for being on, guys. Really appreciate you. For the audience out there, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.
Peace. Stay high.
Yo, bro, I'm fucking dying over here, dude.
What happened?
I'm fucking dying.
Still?
I gotta piss so bad.
Really? Okay.
I've been like, dude, I've been twisting.
I'm gonna include this in the podcast.
And then I'm like laughing my ass off in the back because I'm like thinking about what people are looking at while I'm twisting and turning, and I'm laughing my ass off.
You're just so uncomfortable.
Dude, I was about to take a piss, like straight up. I was
in the barf bag.
I was gonna take a piss behind Eric. Yeah, in the barf bag. Dude, I was
That would
dying.
have made for a great podcast.
I was gonna,
we got a ton of views, yeah.
It's like,
I was seriously gonna
is
do
that
it.
Josh indecently exposing himself? How
could have turned
how
around, for
typical of
fuck's sake.
Josh to do
I
that.
was really, I was borderline edging to do
Trying
it.
to talk about your customer personas. Put your dick away, dude. Come on.
Dude,
Well, one of his main products is going to be the bad sheets, right, for the good nights.
Dude, and then
the bad
like,
sheets for the good nights.
and then Brett's talking about like his like consumer base, you know, the American patriot, da da da, and like, yeah, that's what we're making it like primarily focused to men. And I wanted to be like, oh, and non-binaries. There's like so much I wanted.
I'm still rolling.
Associated as
So
whiskey
that's
drinkers.
good.
There's so much I wanted to say, but like I'm trying to be professional, hold it back, you know. But then I'm also dying in the back.
There, we're going to be there in 7 minutes.
Cool.
Oh, that's
hold
gonna make
in,
him
bro,
need to
come
piss
on.
even more. You should have told him it was longer.
Your slogan too, I was gonna say it on the thing, but I was like, ah, fuck it, I'll just shut my mouth. But it should be like Ameragave, be better, or we do it better,
Well, I mean, one thing that
or you're better.
like,
You're better than that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Are you?
yeah. When it comes to, and this doesn't necessarily
Or
resonate.
just Ameragave, better.
Yeah, this doesn't necessarily resonate to our brand, maybe, but like when it comes to what my personal values are, like I wrote a blog. I know I sent it to you, Roman. I don't know if you've read it, Josh, but when I finished Leadville 100, I wrote a blog called Do Hard Things. It was the 10 life lessons I learned racing the Leadville 100. And I truly believe in all that stuff so much. It's like, do hard things. Like, you should do something every single day that makes you uncomfortable, because that's the only way you grow. If you're not making yourself uncomfortable, you're not growing. And discomfort comes both physically and mentally. If you get in a cold plunge, that's uncomfortable. If you get in a cold plunge every single day, it stops becoming uncomfortable, so duck your head, right? And then there are mental discomfort things, like if you do a cappella karaoke in front of a whole bunch of close friends, that's really uncomfortable. But guess what? You're going to grow. You're going to come out of that experience a little bit different than you went into it. And I think that growth is what's important. So doing things that are uncomfortable are really important. And I think that everybody should do things that make them uncomfortable every single day. And so I have done a bunch of like do hard things, right? And like I would love, like I wrote an entire ad that one day I want to film, where I took the Steve Jobs ad, here's to the crazy ones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I meant, and it was, here's to the innovators, here's to the ones that do hard things, here's to the ones that, you know, didn't know if what they were working on was, you know, going to work or going to be worth it, or didn't know if they could persevere. And like, here's to the ones that do hard things. And like, when we talk about, like, I picture our avatar as like an American with a beard who, you know, is like either a veteran or like patriotic in some ways. And like, those people also believe in doing hard things. Those people also believe in persevering through those. And
well, I think it's like it's part of the conversation right now of our society, the children that we have right now, the young people that are out there online are just soft.
yeah,
And they're becoming soft because they don't have the struggle. Everything is
I'm
too
struggling.
easy. Everything is too easy.
You
man.
piss in my fucking pants, I'm gonna fuck you up.
do hard things, Josh.
Hitchhiking back to Texas, bro.
I got a
Focus on
slogan.
not puking.
I got a slogan for Ameragave. It's a little inside joke that Josh and a few of us have. You could use Ameragave, nuttin, N-U-T-T-I-N-G, better.
Nothing better.
Yeah, nuttin
I think
better.
that's Bad Sheet's slogan.
Oh, fuck.
So isn't it make tequila great again?
Yeah, there you go. That's
my
it.
Make,
God.
make tequila American again?
Make-
Yeah. Ooh.
Make agave great again.
I actually got a question, so I didn't want to bring it up earlier because I wasn't sure what the answer was, and I didn't want to like either make one of us sound stupid, right?
Yeah, you can cut it in.
Yeah. But like, if somebody goes to the website, so you said you have people coming to the site, they're
Yeah.
aware of the brand, they're looking at the cocktails, like
Yeah.
you know, make all these special cocktails, they're spending time there, but they're not checking out.
Yeah.
Can you gain any insights to why they're not checking out? Like, do you
Well,
know their
Roman was
email
kinda
addresses?
talking
Can you
about that.
figure out like who they are, how to contact them? No, so Roman was talking about
Oh, fuck.
reaching out before the sale, after the sale. This is specifically why they didn't
Yeah.
buy.
Yeah.
So, like, is that possible?
Yeah.
Yeah, so why they didn't buy, I mean, you send a survey right after, you know, at the end of your welcome series.
But you're saying if they don't even.
That's if they're engaged through this
Or send a
pipeline.
survey at the end of your abandoned car, right?
Well,
Yeah.
he's saying if they come to the website and they don't They don't give you your email.
So-
they don't buy.
Well, do
I think the
anything.
answer
Without
is the
the
same.
email, you
so
can't do much.
Without the email, you can't do anything. If we have their email, we have 3 abandoned flows.
so you
So we
do
have abandoned
follow
browse, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout. Luckily, we've only had 2 abandoned checkouts. So nobody's abandoned each other. That's great.
Oh,
And the only 2 were because they were in states that we couldn't ship to. We can't ship to all 50 states, just 39. But we get plenty of abandoned browse is all due, and then abandoned cart happens now and then. And so on those flows, I can absolutely include a survey to try to find out.
like why? Yeah, it's a good question. There's also software out there that if someone comes to your website, they can pull your email by IP
Yeah, you
address.
can find out who they
And
are.
so you can actually build an email list,
Just
in
by
a,
who's
in
coming
a
through.
non-consensual way, which is it's a little bit tricky
You
to
might catch
to-
it by surprise.
you
like,
might-
hey, I saw you
yeah.
left my
GDPR.
website.
You might want to
Yeah.
use a different domain to send
lot-
it
And
from.
screen recording software, very
Screen
important.
recording
So
software.
Mouseflow,
Yeah.
Hotjar.
Download this EXE
I do
while you're here.
Microsoft Clarity.
Clarity's
and I'll
good,
just
yeah.
literally sit there and stalk people watching them on my site and see what they do.
Yeah.
And then some of these technologies, they'll actually point out points of frustration while someone's on your site. So if they go into like a clicking frenzy, it'll show like something like something's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Like this
They had a
timestamp.
seizure, dude,
Yeah,
right on
there's
this
like no.
page. Yeah.
Clicking frenzy happened there. It's like that's usually an error of some sort, right?
Yeah.
But that's valuable information. If
For
somebody
sure.
had a hard time.
Yeah, we do that in all
going
of
to
our
the next
tools.
step.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, a lot of-
how far someone's scrolling, whether they're coming back, what
Exactly.
they
yeah.
really want to see, and what's the most important thing.
Honestly, it's something that you can do without any fancy softwares with Google Analytics, man. And one of my favorite reports is the abandoned cart flow report in GA4. So it's
a customer journey report.
Exactly. It's a basic exploration
Yeah.
report which you can build, and then in each step of your checkout flow, you know exactly what they're doing, how many
Yeah.
abandoned in each flow, and then you can go deeper into the demographics of like who are they. For
Okay.
example, in your case, is it a state
Yeah.
that abandoned at a certain rate because
Yeah.
they saw something and they're like, oh shit, I don't think I can buy this, because I saw something, right? So
Yeah.
like you can glean a lot of insights of just what's currently happening on your site, and then start to fuel like marketing
Yeah.
from there.
So this is a technical question, but I have a customer journey flow in GA4 for the cart.
Sure.
But once you check out, you go to extensibility, and I cannot get checkout events to trigger in GA4 from extensibility checkout.
So you can do it either with a webhook or a custom event in GA, where
But I don't know how to put the custom event into extensibility. I know how to put it into Shopify on our side.
Yeah.
But once you go to the checkout, then
It's a
I'm not
C-fucking
getting.
approach.
I'm not getting the. We have events for added credit card, added address. Like we have events for that, but none of them are firing. And I didn't know if I know that extensibility and
GA.
GA4 there's issues there.
so it's usually through a webhook.
Okay.
That if there's a native integration, a native webhook that can pass back the information to GA4, you can do that through a custom event in GA4 that tells you this is a purchase, and then the purchase value as well. It's called e-commerce tracking.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is you can do it either through Zapier, which is a webhook
Yeah.
service that is
Or
for
coming in this bitch sideways.
non-native.
Sipping sideways.
Steep approach, man.
Dude, I thought it was just my vision, dude. I'm drinking too much tequila, but
Oh God.
yeah, baby.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so like I get the conversion, and
Yeah.
I get the checkout, and I get the value.
Yep.
I don't
Good
get
back there, bro?
I don't get the added credit card, added shipping address, those events.
Because that happens on a separate page. That happens on extensively.
Extensibility, ours is one-page checkout
But I don't get it. Like if everything is on one page,
because we don't
and
have
that's on
any-
your website.
because extensibility is ran by Shopify and the customization is super limited.
So if it's a Shopify backed like payment processor,
it is, yeah.
then you'll have native integrations to GA4 that can be passed back
Okay.
to analytics to see what they're actually purchasing. We do the same thing at Mirror Safety too.
Yeah, I mean, because we use Shopify. We don't use a Shopify template. It's
Yes,
all built.
Roman?
It's all built
Oh, wait,
custom
what?
using Hydrogen.
No, I'm good. Nothing to see
You're not
over here.
pissing, right?
And
No,
so
I'm
If I
good.
see your fucking
I have-
dick out
He
there.
did just shit himself, though.
all of the events
Dude,
on our
I should have
website
pissed
work,
in the background.
and then you go to
shouldn't I?
checkout, and I get
then
the
it
event
doesn't.
go to checkout, and then if I get the event purchase and I get the amount, but
Fuck, I
the
should have pissed.
GA4 has a pre-built report for checkout journey which is added credit card, added shipping address, and those two.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Those
the
two-
pre-built one. So
Yeah, those two events I can't get.
those
to
are standard, basically naming conventions for your checkout flow. So you have to you can create a custom checkout flow report.
Okay.
I talked about the
So
exploration.
I'll have to change the events in the journey
I can
report.
build it in like 30 seconds,
Okay.
which is a custom checkout flow where you're adding the pages basically specifically by either the page name or by the actual part in the checkout that they're going through. So if you're talking about like 3 pages, you can add those to a custom flow, and then you can see drop off on each of the pages. The standard report that GA offers is for the standard naming conventions of the, like I believe it's through the e-commerce setup through GA4. So if you're not matching up directly with that, then there's not going to show any data there.
Okay.
But it's an easy fix.
None of us clapped when we landed. Isn't that like a thing?
Cheers. Yeah, so one more question.
The
So
fuck?
you said your whole stock is based in like California,
Yeah.
right? So why California? Why
Licensing.
like once you know? Oh, that's where it's got to be.
Yeah. We'll get it here eventually. I just need Roman to like rent me 10 square feet in his
He's
warehouse.
selling to the American
'Cause
Patriot,
that's
but
my
having
space. So like understanding where the customer is and getting things as close to them as possible would drastically reduce shipping costs, right? You can get
Right. Yeah.
same day, next day.
We will get it here once we get into distribution here. So I can't ship to customer anyways. The distributor has to make profit.
Right, but you can get it to the local distributors quicker if it's co-located.
Yeah. Yep. I'm not allowed to warehouse it at my house. I have to warehouse it at a commercial warehouse. So if Roman's like, hey, here's 100 square feet for you,